This is for you new people. I only have one rule. Everyone fights, no one quits. If you don't do your job, I'll shoot you. You get me?
We get you, sir!
Welcome to the Roughnecks.
Ratcats Roughnecks!
And then
a lot of guys keep asking me, do you think that, and I think we talked about this last time I was here, was like, do you think that the red pill is going to go mainstream?
Yes,
and I'm
we
like,
did talk
well,
about that.
it depends on what you think is mainstream. First off, is it like, are we going to see it on CNN or MSNBC, or is it, are people, you know, are you going to hear about it around the water? What's this new red pill thing? You know, that's, I don't think so. I answered that yesterday. I hope not, because the red pill is something that is, I mean, one of the reasons why we use the red pill as an analogy, and a lot of people, when they hear it, or they'll hear certain things like the red pill or unplugging, like I'll say unplugging from the matrix, or your blue pill or your purple pill or whatever, that kind of stuff. And I think when an immature mind kind of doesn't get the metaphor, that's one thing I try not to use online is metaphor and allegory, and because everyone will take it literally, automatic. You know, the blue pill's not really the right allegory for that. Let me tell you exactly what I think, right? And so you have this literalist kind of mindset that like kind of tears all that stuff apart. I hope not, because what I was a little bit more concerned about with the red pill going mainstream, I've been talking about this for a long time. If you go back to like say 2012, 2013, Roosh even said, hey, this is the year, it was 2013. This is the year that the red pill is going to go mainstream. Like, still waiting for my red pill mainstream check. You know, it's not in the mail. Hasn't shown up in the mail yet. And then in 2018, I did a State of the Manosphere address, which it's on the 21 convention site, but it's something I'm proud of. I don't, you know, you go look at it. I think it still holds up very well today. Yeah. And I talked about
Rolo
exactly
doesn't hate, you know what I'm saying? He just,
well, I mean,
I
don't hate the stuff that I did.
Yeah.
I think I had some pretty good stuff. I thought that was a very good, and if you go back and I was actually reviewing that for yesterday's show.
Right.
And I was like, man, a lot of this stuff that I was talking about just 2.5 years ago, is coming to pass right now. And I did in that show, or in that talk, I did a SWOT analysis. Do you know what a SWOT analysis is? Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. I think it's like what a company will do, like when they're trying to brainstorm, like where are we going to take this company in the next like 3 years or 5 years or something.
Absolutely.
So it's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And so I was kind of breaking down like what's the manosphere, what are the strengths, what are the weaknesses, and you know, as if it was, you know, we're all in this together, so let's talk about this. And one of the things one of the threats, I think it was either weaknesses or the threat. I think it was the threats. I said, you know, there's the red pills at some point is going to have sort of a PR crisis. I don't know what it's called. Maybe it's not a crisis, isn't really the word, but like we're going to get to a point where it goes mainstream, and then the people who are taking it mainstream, my main concern was that the people who are supposed to be an authority on the red pill aren't necessarily the authority that ought to be out there telling the story of the manosphere,
right?
Or the red pill, or what is this about? Because people use the red pill in so many different ways and in so many different contexts right now that it gets really very confusing. When you throw something out that sounds like, oh, it sounds like a buzzword, it sounds like a catchphrase, it sounds like something that is easy to hate on, right? It's a convenient villain. is what I called it.
Yep.
And so when you give somebody like it's like the alt-right, or it was the red pill, or it was, you know, just something that sounds sinister. And it's easy to like for like kind of simple minds to sort of understand.
Yeah.
Well, you can turn it into anything you want to at that point. So the red pill can be about politics. It can be about religion. It can be about anything. And to me, it's always been about intersexual dynamics. And like I keep saying, I wish there was some better term, some better abstraction we could use, but it's still the analogy from the Matrix movie still fits to this day. And I don't think it's going mainstream in the way that I think a lot of people would like to see it go mainstream. But my concern is that even if it did go mainstream, I would be a little bit concerned about the message that is being made. This is official. This is really what the red pill's all about, because I think we're still kind of sorting that out.
So, because we did that, because for the people that are wondering, when we did our Tim Pool analysis, we were actually going to bring Rollo on as a surprise guest to talk about it. But, you know, he had some things that came up, so he had to run. But at the end of the show, I basically said, hey, in the next 5 to 10 years, what I think is going to happen is as technology gets better and more men get ostracized because of the, you know, the global sexual marketplace we talk about all the time with, you know, online dating. And because the big thing that Tim didn't address was Instagram. Yeah. I said more and more guys are going to find the RP, but it's still going to be a small percentage of men that are actually going to accept it and actually live that lifestyle. Because a lot of guys are aware of female nature, but they just don't want to accept it. They want to like hold on to that blue pill narrative that like girls are still sugar and spice and everything nice. Not all girls are like this or whatever it is. But so I think it's going to become more
unignorable.
It's going to be more, yeah, exactly. It's going to be unignorable to an extent, and more guys are going to be red pill aware, but not necessarily accept it.
I think.
Man in front of you is a true friend. The man is defending you left and right. After tonight's shows, I want to take the man and go buy him an ice cream and get him a nice balloon. That's from Punisher. I appreciate that, bro. I mean, you know, it really bothers me when people talk shit about my friends, bro. Like, I don't get it. Like, it really does fucking piss me off. When the Andrew Tate allegations came out, fucking pissed me off. When people talk shit about Fresh, gets me fucking mad. When people talk shit about Sneeko, etc. If you're my friend, you're my friend. I'm with you, regardless of whether it's convenient or not. You fucking pussies in the chat that say you're loyal to a fault. Shut the fuck up. That does not exist in my fucking vocabulary. Loyal to a fault, because you're loyal regardless. The whole definition of loyal is being loyal and sticking by somebody, whether it's convenient or not, to fucking be there. I don't believe in this term loyal to a fault. Okay? And if the fault is death, then guess what? I die with a fucking spine. A lot of you motherfuckers are jellyfish. No fucking spine. And that's the reason why a lot of you motherfuckers are fat, triple chin, neck bearded, pieces of shit, fucking dorks with no money, and no one fucking respects you, because you motherfuckers don't stand for nothing. If I stand with Fresh, I die with Fresh. It is what it is. Okay? It is what it is, you motherfuckers. Oh shit, it's getting shaky. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna leave. I got 20 fucking real estate properties, so I can tell motherfuckers, fuck you. My net worth is over $6 fucking million. I get money residually. I don't fucking need to do this shit, and I don't need to fucking sell my soul. I stand with my fucking friends. Period. Alright? Some of you motherfuckers need to get a fucking spine, you jellyfish SpongeBob in the fucking pineapple house pieces of shit. It pisses me off how soft all you motherfuckers are, bro. It's ridiculous. You motherfuckers haven't stepped in the gym in 3 weeks trying to tell me how to fucking be loyal to my fucking friends. I'm not going anywhere. Alright? I'm tired of you motherfuckers. Leave Fresh. Leave Fresh. He's only dead. He's only done. Well, fuck you. Alright? I don't need to make a fucking cent off this fucking podcast. I'm fine. My real estate will take care of me, because I knew that if I want to say what the fuck I want to say and not sell my soul, I need to go ahead and build residual income coming in every fucking month, so I can sit here and tell you fucking haters, fuck you. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to say what the fuck I want to say, and I don't give a fuck what anybody got to say. I cannot be bought. I have my soul. I have my spine. I have my integrity. I got my 10 toes and my 2 feet, and I fucking stand where the fuck I'm going to stand. And if I die there, I'll die there with a smile on my face, because I can look in the fucking mirror and be happy with the man that I see. You pussy motherfuckers. You fucking losers that sit there and say, oh, it's getting rocky, Myron. You should leave. Why do you stay by Sneeko? Do you stay by the Tate? Do you still think they're having draft Chris? Fresh is an idiot. Why are you still there? Chris drinks too much. Hey, shut the fuck up. That's why no one respects you motherfuckers, because you don't stand for anything. If there's anything you guys can learn from this fucking podcast, learn this. We've been through hell together. We had people come at us. We've had death threats at us. People fucking laugh at every time we fucking go through some bullshit. People make allegations on us. People have tried to absolutely fucking destroy us. And you know who was around me the whole fucking time? These fucking guys. So you motherfuckers can say whatever the fuck you want to say. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to stand by the guys that stand by me, because you fucking pieces of shit aren't fucking there when I'm going through it. You pieces of shit aren't fucking there when I'm fucking figuring out what the fuck I'm going to do because we got demonetized. You motherfuckers weren't there when everyone and their fucking mom came at us. You motherfuckers weren't there when I got the false accusation against me. You motherfuckers weren't there when this bitch lied and said that I got her pregnant when I fucking did it. And then you dumbasses 3 years later believe some bitch that makes the same fucking allegations again. You fucking idiots. I'm not going anywhere. I'm standing right fucking here. All right? These guys were with me in my darkest times. I'm not going to fucking leave them in their darkest times. Fuck you, motherfuckers. I got my real estate, got my money, I'm fine. I'm not going anywhere. I can't be bought.
That was real. That was real talk.
And there you have it. Oh, wait, put me back in. There we go. Wait, I got you. There. All right, I got it. Thanks, Kyle. Well, here we are in 2024. 3 years after that fateful day. Was interesting because whenever I see these guys going through something, I always have to come back to where we were January of 2021. Now, when Myron and Fresh got up to their 1 million mark in their subs, they had a party. They had a yacht party. I unfortunately was not able to attend. However, I remember going through sort of our past, which is really weird for me to say because it wasn't even that long. I mean, it was only like a year ago, or it would have been 2 years, right? And I remember I talked to Myron, I talked to Fresh, and I was like, you guys remember I was one of the first interviews that was on their show. It was myself and Hotep Jesus came on there. And that was good times, man. I still have pictures of that. I still have video from that. And one of the clips that I use quite often during times like this is when when big shit and heavy shit comes down. And I went back to that clip again where, what was it? March 1st, 2021. And it was I think it was the second time I was there. I was there with Donovan Sharp, and I was there with Aaron Clary. And it would have been March. And I'll tell you what was interesting from about 2021 all the way up until actually most of 2022. There wasn't a time that I wasn't on the show. I can remember there was every single month I had flown to Miami to go do hey, thank you very much for that. Sorry I don't have the sound effects just yet. We will next week, I promise you. All right, here's what I'm going to tell you, guys. If you are going to give me off-topic super chats today, I'll get to those, especially if they're pertinent. But I'm going to try to stay on topic today because I think today's show is going to be very, very important, and so I want to stay as close to it as I can. I'll come back to if you're off topic. That's fine. I will come back to you. If you have a question that's pertinent to what we're talking about today, because today's topic is really about loyalty. I know I was talking about is the red pill abortion right now. We're going to get into that as well, because I have said a few things about abortion in my time. Not many people understand that I've written actually 5 fucking books, and the 4th book was religion, and I talked about it in that book quite a bit. I actually talked about it a bit in the 3rd book too, which was positive masculinity. But I think there's been some lessons learned here, and the reason why I'm kind of rewinding the clock right now is because I had a conversation with Fresh, and it was interesting because Aaron Clary has been, let's just say I don't want to tell you where he was. Let's just say he was on another cross-country road trip last week. So I was trying to catch him up on what was going on with Myron and Fresh, and Fresh in particular, right? And Aaron and I were having this conversation. I said, do you remember, I think it was about March of 2021, myself and Aaron were in the car together. This is before Fresh had his Lambo, before he even had a McLaren. We were just in, I think it was the Land Rover at that point. And I think we just picked up Aaron Clary and we were driving through Brickell. And Fresh asked myself and Aaron if we had any like sort of like advice for him, because the show was starting to pick up. And he was, I mean, of course, you know, Aaron and I are the old guys, right, of the Red Pill. And so he asked us, like Fresh had asked us, he said, you know, what should we watch out for? You know, like, do you have any, you know, give me some worldly wisdom or whatever, some advice. And so Aaron, I forget what Aaron said, but it was basically cover your ass, protect yourself, make sure that, maybe it was sort of like become anti-fragile or something like that. But the first thing out of my mouth was this. I said, there's two things that are going to threaten your show. And as I was saying before, I used to do SWOT analysis for the manosphere, for my own. I do it for my own brand occasionally. I'll do it for other people's brands as well. What are the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats? Well, one of the greatest threats, and I told Fresh this from day one, was you have to be careful of the girls lodging SA charges at you. What time is it? Can I say that? Okay, SA charges at you. You got to be careful of that. And I said, and the only other thing that's really going to tear you down is if you get one of these girls pregnant. And here we are. And I mentioned that as early as March of 2021, I believe. And I don't know if that necessarily stuck. I hate to say I was prophetic because I hate being right all the time. Sometimes I actually do hate being right all the time. And so I was thinking about that. And I was having this conversation with Aaron just like this week. And I said, do you remember that conversation? He says, yes, I remember it distinctly, because he was in the back seat, I was in the front seat, and we were basically discussing, trying to come up with trying to help them along, because I think from the get-go, myself and Aaron, certainly Donovan Sharp, and a lot of the other guys that are just sort of regulars, maybe they were from Rule Zero at that time. John from Modern Life Dating, Troy Francis, Sterling Cooper, and later on, a year later, Justin Waller. A lot of us, we have, I feel comfortable in saying this, is that I think that the people who have been there from the beginning have been invested, not just in these guys as just human beings, as men, but also in the show itself. Because I think that everybody that came along and saw what they were doing and what they were putting together, and yes, how do they use my material? Yes, fine, please, it's open source. I want them to use it. But the thing is that when I see this, I think everybody was invested in it at some point. And I can remember the ups and the downs. I remember I was fucking there in August of 2021 when Abba and Preach came at them. And you probably, maybe you don't even remember this, because people have very short fucking memories on the internet. The internet never forgets, but people have ADHD. People forget really, really, really quickly. They can go back in time and find those clips just like I do, right? But their memories are very fucking short. They have, most people, I think a lot of the people who talk shit about the Red Pill today don't even know that the Red Pill has been around since, I mean, in my case, really since the early 2000s, 2004, 2003, 2002. And so when I'm trying to tell people what the Red Pill is, they think it begins and ends with Pearl. They think it begins and ends with Andrew Tate. They think it begins and ends with Myron and Fresh. They think it begins and ends with whoever, or Kevin Samuels, right? They think it begins and ends with whoever is the influencer du jour at that time. And trust me, once Andrew and Tristan go to prison, and they will go to prison, and Pearl fades off into the distance, whether she gets pregnant or she gets married or she's no longer Pearl Davis anymore and she's gone out of the picture, and, you know, God rest his soul, Kevin Samuels is out of the picture, there will be somebody else who comes in and sort of picks up the mantle, and now they're the guru du jour of the Red Pill. And I will guarantee you we will be having this exact same fucking conversation 2026, 2028. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. How do I know that? Because I was there in 2019 when all this bullshit went down. I was there in 2020. I was there in 2021. I was there as far back as 2004, 2002. I've seen this happen. I've seen it over and over and over. And yes, I was there 3,000 years ago, fucking Gandalf. Yes, I was there. I watched this shit happen. I've outlasted all these fuckers. And I'll tell you this, when I first met Myron, which was prior to the show, just so you know, Myron actually used to be a semi-regular on Rule Zero before the show started taking off and he had other commitments, right? We were there. A lot of people don't even realize there was a red pill prior to 2020 or prior to even 2019, much less 2015, much less 2013 or 2009. You got to remember that the Rational Male, I published that in 2013. My blog came out in 2011. So when people go, oh, you're just a podcaster, fuck off. Fuck you. I'm much more than a podcaster. I'm much more than, I hate the word influencer. I'm an author. I've been part of this forever. I'm a blogger. I used to be a moderator on SoSuave, the forums. I've seen it from the inception to where we are right now. Oh, you're an old guy. Yeah, you're fucking right. I am. And I know what the fuck I'm talking about too. So when I go back in time and I go back to those videos where it's 2021, it's March 1st, literally 3 fucking years ago, March 1st, 2021. And I'm saying the same thing then that I'm saying right now. I said, I hope it doesn't. I didn't say it wouldn't. I just said, I hope it doesn't. I hope it doesn't go mainstream. Why did I say that? Because even as far back as 3 years ago, I was saying, because people will come into this space who have no business being in this fucking space, and they'll start mouthing off like they are some sort of authority on it because they don't care about the red pill. They don't care about the principle. They don't care about a commitment and an obligation to objective truth. They don't care. They don't fucking care. And so what happens is you get this really good, very genuine, very authentic dedication, obligation to objective truth, to whatever it is that we want to call red pill right now. It's not what it was back in 2018, back in 2013, back in 2004. It's not that anymore. It's something completely fucking different. It's a completely different animal. And why? Because we had all these people coming in to the space who have no business being in this space. Myron and Fresh belonged in this space. Pearl, no. Let's see, who else? The Tates? Probably not. Because now, of course, when it's inconvenient for them to be red pill, they throw it under the bus. Just as I said they fucking would in 2021, just as they did in 2019. What am I talking about? I'm talking about the 21 convention. And a lot of people still, what the fuck is Rollo talking about? The 21 convention. Anthony Johnson? Who the fuck is Anthony Johnson? I'm glad people don't even remember this motherfucker because he's not worth fucking remembering. But I was there. I was there in 2019. It was June, as a matter of fact, June 1st or June 2nd, 2019. And the same thing was going on then as is going on right now. That's what I was really getting at when I was saying, I hope it doesn't go mainstream. Because what happened was all these people who thought they knew better, who thought that they were going to take it mainstream in an election cycle once again, because we were halfway through 2019 at that point. Nobody knew it was going to happen in 2020, of course. But all this shit's going down. And then suddenly, just out of the fucking blue, Anthony Johnson and let's see who else. I got a great picture for you. We're going to go down memory lane here. All these guys. Let's see. That's Ivan Throne. Well, I can't really say Ed Lattimore was really part of this. He wasn't. He was just sort of one of the guys that was presenting that time. George Bruno. I forget that dude's name. Anyways, you can see. Then you've got Donovan Sharp, and look at that beard. Whose beard is that? Does anybody remember his name? You bet you remember the beard, but you don't remember the fucking name. That's Jack Murphy. Then you got Hunter Drew. Then you got Rich Cooper in the back there. Then you've got Anthony Johnson. Then you've got Alan Roger Curry. The bald-headed guy in front of Anthony, that's Socrates. Oh, and the guy in front of him, that smiling mug, that's Ryan Stone. Then you've got then you got Tanner Guzzi. Then you got myself right there. You got AJ Cortez, and then some other people. I'd say a Goldman's there. Dr. Sean Smith is there, and a few other people whose names I don't really remember anymore. Now, the reason why I'm showing you this is because of all of these people, none of them work with Anthony Johnson anymore, because Anthony systematically went and attacked and spurged out on every last one of these guys. But that wasn't before he recruited, about half of these dudes to come at me and put knives in my back in 2019. Why was that? I'll tell you why. Let me put this back. I'll tell you why. Because they wanted to go political. because they wanted to do the what was it, the Patriarchs Convention, right? I don't think he's taken off that goddamn MAGA hat since 2017. And probably showers with the fucking thing. And nobody remembers him doing his I'm the president of the manosphere. By the way, he's the president, so please, go and pay homage to Anthony Johnson. Nobody knows who he is. Nobody cares who he is. He's a fart in the wind. I outlasted that guy. I outlasted all these guys. And so why am I saying this? Well, because I understand the frustration that fucking Myron is experiencing right now, because I had to go through it in June of 2019 myself. Dealing with the bullshit, dealing with people who just simply have no business being in the manosphere, being in the red pill, have no business whatsoever, other than the fact that they turned whatever they could of the red pill, of the manosphere, into a somewhat lucrative influencers sort of brand of me, right? Brand of personality brand. We didn't even call them influencers back then, right? So when you look at the guys who decided to put a knife in my back in 2019, every last one of them, I forget. I don't want to throw too many people under the bus here, because you had Donovan Sharp, who at that time wanted to play neutral. He wanted to be Sweden in World War II, right? He was trying to. He learned his lesson, and later on apologized to me for that. John Sonmez, another guy, decided he wanted to work with Anthony, learned his lesson. I got apologies from him. George Bruno, by the way, is a stand-up guy in my book right now. I never believed I would ever say that George Bruno was a stand-up guy. He is. He came to me afterwards. He reached out to me. He actually tried to get. I had him blocked in so many ways. I think he used Aaron Clary's phone, or somebody's phone. I forget whose phone. I didn't know it was him. And he was like, wait, it's George Bruno. Just give me 5 minutes. I'm like, okay, I'll give this guy 5 minutes. And he just completely heartfelt apologies and everything. And was like, I know what you were talking about at that time. I understand. He was Anthony was psychotic, whatever. Every single guy in that lineup from 2018, nobody wants to work with him anymore. Tanner Guzzi is going through his second divorce. He's got 6 kids with his I think his second wife, and he had a 7th on the way. If you look at Ivan Throne, God knows what happened to him. He's probably sitting in some, I don't know, Eastern Bloc jail right now, for all I know. The Tates, everything else. If you look at the people who were involved back in 2019, at that time, everyone involved was either disgraced or they were vilified by Anthony Johnson. And if you look at a guy, like Jack Murphy, for instance, Jack Murphy was one of the guys who was supposedly at the cigar bar incident at that time. Yeah, Jack Murphy. Nobody remembers his name, but they sure as fuck remember what that beard is supposed to mean, right? Jack Murphy, the heartfelt, go fuck yourself, heartfelt. Jack Murphy, the guy who was allegedly fucking young boys, having purple dildo shoved up his ass, and went from his brand of being a good conservative tradcon to being completely disgraced. That Jack Murphy. Yes. I've seen some heavy ass shit. I've seen some ugly ass shit. And I understand now Myron is going through it too. And so I got to say, I can at least empathize with his frustration at this point. Did Fresh fuck up? Let me just start from the beginning. Yes, he did. But there's a lot more to it than you think. They just recently did a show that was from this show, as a matter of fact, with Jim Sexton. Well, Jim Sexton and I happen to be fairly good friends. You guys probably remember me talking about the whole incident with Daily Wire and James Sexton and Pearl and all that other bullshit. It's not a coincidence that James Sexton is representing Fresh right now. I don't want to reveal too much, but I have talked to Jim Sexton, and I don't want to say anything because I don't want to fuck anything up for Fresh, but let me just explain to people who are watching this for the first time, or maybe you're just catching up to what's going on with Fresh. Jim Sexton is representing Fresh right now. And I can't think of a better lawyer. I can't think of a better guy to actually pick up the slack for him. But there's a lot more going on behind the scenes. And like I said, I talked to James probably about a couple hours before they went live on the show on Friday. And there's so much more to this story, and it'll come out eventually. It will come out. But I think what's interesting is how ready people are to throw Myron and Fresh under the bus, and that's where that frustration comes from, because Myron can't say anything right now, and Fresh can't really say anything right now because they're keeping their, at least they're trying to. Guys, please zip it, because the quieter you are, the better things are going to be for you. I think I hate to say this, but my first impressions of this whole thing was, I was like, okay, this is a bit, because I've seen this before. I know what these guys do. Occasionally they'll do what I call controlled burns, right? They'll take a hit for like subs. They did the same thing kind of in August. I'm not saying they deliberately did it, but when they take a hit to their brand or their integrity or respect, whatever it is, they have always snapped back and made the best of it. And I will say that Fresh is a master of having to do that. Why do I say that? Well, you probably heard Myron say something about how he got, what's his SA charge? He did get SA charges, of course, allegations, let's just say, by Ethan Klein. And I would say this because they just did that thing with Ethan Klein where they had him on and they wanted to debate him, and Ethan Klein rage quit and whatever. That conversation should have taken place like 2 years ago, guys. It really should have taken place 2 years ago. But, better late than never, right? In August of 2021, I was there. I was in Miami when this happened. I was leaving on a Sunday, and I think it happened on a Friday. I had a Saturday to help him out. And that was when Abba and Preach finally came at, or eventually, it was in 2021. They came at Myron and Fresh, and I was like, guys, let's nip this in the bud. I called up Fresh. I said, dude, did you just see what Abba and Preach put out about you guys, about you flying girls out, about how Myron has some secret love child from some chick he was flew out from California. All turns out to be bullshit, complete 100% horseshit. But I'm like, guys, let's nip this in the bud. I'm here. I can tell you why these guys are wrong. We can rake these guys over the coal, and what's done is done. They didn't want to do it. And I was confused as to why they didn't want to do it at that time. And, Myron, or I didn't even think I talked to Myron for more than 5 minutes. And I talked to Fresh, and Fresh said, no, we just laugh at that stuff. Well, that was the first time they actually took a hit to their subscriptions. But the thing is even though they took a hit to their subs, they were still the #1 most super chatted show on planet fucking Earth during that time, because they had so many people wanting to ask questions, wanting to super chat in, wanting to find out what was going on, because it was this, quote unquote scandal. Nobody even remembers. It's 2024. Nobody even remembers that bullshit anymore. Nobody remembers that. You guys still, once in a while, somebody will bring up Fresh and Miranda, who I also defended them against. I defended hell. I remember the time I did that, and people said I was selling out. You're too invested with Myron and Fresh. You're co-branding with them, and they're going to take you down. And this is a bad look, Rolo. I was there for them to help them out in August when Abba and Preach came at them. I was there with the following November, actually. Well done, Fresh. With Miranda and all that shit that went down. Then I go on with the Tates in December of 2021. Then I go on You Are Here with Sydney Watson and Elijah Schaefer. The week before Jack Murphy had his infamous, fuck you heartfelt episode. And then it's just this one thing after the next. And yes, did I go after DJ Academics? No, I just said, hey, I was watching out for these guys. That's fucking loyalty. If that's not loyalty, I don't know. If I'm willing to take hits, if I'm willing for people to say, hey, man, you're co-branding with these guys, it's a bad look for you. They're gonna drag you down, and I'm still defending these guys. There's something more to it than that. There's something more than just because I don't make money going to do Fresh and Fit, other than the fact that I get a little bit of like exposure, I guess, on their platform, right? At this point, I'm not doing it for exposure, and I think they know that I'm not doing it for exposure. But I lose money when I go out to Miami, but I'm willing to do it. Will I write it off? Yes, thanks. I get 36% on the dollar when I write it off. Yeah, big bargain there. But the long and the short of it is when we're talking, when Myron is talking about loyalty, and he's talking about how he and Fresh are like ride or die, basically. I completely understand that, because after a while, when people start coming at you, and like, for instance, people hit me up right before this show, like a week, hell, even I think it was on Access Vegas. We did Access Vegas on Thursday, and people said, "Are you going to talk about Fresh's love child? Are you going to talk about the baby?" And I'm like, you know what? I think we're going to hold off from that, because I don't know exactly what's going on. This is before I talked to Jim Sexton, and I'm glad I did. I'm glad I just held off. I'm glad I did. But of course, if I hold off, then it means I'm trying to keep something secret. If I don't say something, it's almost as bad as if I do say something. So I think one of the things that we try to do is we try to look for the worst in our heroes. We were just talking about Andrew Huberman and the New York Mag hit piece that was done on him, and how I was amazed. I'm glad to say that, like, myself and Mike and a few other people that I know, a lot of, I'd say more guys came to his defense than not. But once that hit piece came out, the people who were fans of Huberman were the ones who were the worst. They're the ones who came at him the most, saying, "Oh, see, I knew it all the time. I knew he would." Because when a hero takes a hit, when a hero gets an arrow to the fucking knee, when a hero takes a hit, the people who supported him don't want to seem like they didn't know what was going on, because their egos are now associated with that guy. So there's sort of a danger in being too supportive, but there's also a danger in not being supportive at all. So when I saw Andrew Huberman getting hack jobs, hack pieces thrown at him, I was like, yeah, I understand. Actually, he handled it, perfectly. So as far as my, by the way, I'm sorry, but I'm going to read like directly from my notes, because I got probably like 7 pages of notes for today's show. Just throwing that out there before we get started. Let me get to some of these super chats right quick. Dark Knight, I got you already. Thanks. So today's topic is going to really be more about loyalty. And I will say this whole experience has really kind of like inspired me to, I think I'll probably write about this. I've got so many notes. I'll probably write about this on Substack. So if you don't subscribe to my Substack, please do. What do we got here? Rolo, the title of your show should be The High Cost, the cost of being a high value man, what not to do when you are the best version of yourself. Yeah. Okay. You're a little bit off here. Ways to talk to women that make spinning plates less consuming. Okay, I'll get back to you on that one. We'll come back to you later. How do you find loyal friends? How do you test for loyalty? Seems difficult to get to today. Yes, it is. Everyone rats one out if it's convenient. Yeah, and I'll explain to you why that is. Because that's a good question. Let me, because I do have something about that in my notes here. How do you find them? Good question. You run into them. I think the best way to find them is to recognize friends. I hate to say this, but it's true. Most friendships are started over mutual self-interests. From there, it becomes something more. There are very few people that I implicitly trust these days. One of those is, of course, my wife, Miguel Munoz. I implicitly trust Miguel. Mike Sartain, 100%. In fact, I told Mike this. Mike and I talk probably like 3 or 4 times a week now, especially now that I'm here living in Vegas. Miguel as well. Miguel and I have been sort of partners for really since I don't know, July, August of 2022. And it was actually Miguel who convinced me to come to Vegas and start Access Vegas. We didn't even know it was going to be called Access Vegas, but to start a podcast here and to do something, because we were frustrated. I was frustrated. He was frustrated with all the bullshit that was going on at Valuetainment at that time. And we're just like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's do it ourselves. And that was really kind of a tall order for us, because I mean, Miguel's got some money, but I don't have that kind of money. And so coming down here and doing Access Vegas, I don't think people really understand just the cost of doing that show. Every time I do that show, the studio fees alone are $1,000. Every show I do is $1,000, at minimum $1,000 to do Access Vegas. That's just because I need a producer. We're doing it at Sticky Paws. People got to eat. People got to get paid. Understand? They have to be paid. So when people go, oh man, you guys are just getting these dumb bimbos in there, blah, blah, I lose money on Access Vegas. I have lost money on Access Vegas since I started doing it. And people go, well, why do you keep doing it? Because I have a dedication to the fucking principle. And that's how you find loyal people. They're dedicated to a principle. They're dedicated to a mission. That's why Myron and Fresh are the way they are. That's why when I think it was Brian from whatever podcast wanted to do a Red Pill versus the Tradcons episode. When Myron caught wind of that, he hits me up, he hits Mike up, he hits Justin up and says, I want to do that show. And everyone that was in that group chat said, yes, let's do it. When do you want to get this done? How do you want to do this? How do you want to go about doing this? We tried, of course, we couldn't get it out of the paper bag in freaking Miami. We tried to do it in Vegas. We ended up getting Marquette. We had Aaron Clary there. We had Jake Shields there. It was all around a pretty good show, but it wasn't exactly the show we wanted to get. But that was us being loyal to Myron. We wanted to do that with him because he's our boy. So we go and do stuff like that. It's collaborating. It's having that mutual self-interest. But that mutual self-interest is based on some sort of mission, some sort of statement, some sort of principle. And that's where it comes down to. And here's the thing. Cyberpunk Flash. How do you find loyalty? Okay, how do you test for loyalty? Well, testing loyalty, you don't test for loyalty. You only have to observe it when it is being tested. So if you're going to say, well, I'm going to give you, this is not the fucking mafia, okay? You don't go and just give loyalty tests to people. Say, okay, I want you to go kill this motherfucker and help me bury the body. That doesn't happen today. But when shit goes down, and that's when you know who your friends are, and that's when you know people who have your back and people who don't have your back. The test of loyalty was for me in June of 2019. And you know who had my back? Rich Cooper had my back. Ryan Stone had my back. Troy Francis had my back. Modern Life John, MLD, had my back at that time. There's a handful of other people too. Now I would say probably Donovan Sharp is probably on board as well. But back then, people were like, I don't know, because they saw Anthony as being some sort of source of clout. They thought, well, if I hitch my cart to this guy, then my personality brand, my personal brand, my influencer brand will be more successful than if I hang on and I back up Rolo instead. And as I said, systematically, one by one, Anthony Johnson fucks over all these guys, and they come back to me and apologize for it. And I'm big enough to say, you know what? It takes a big man to do that. I had John Sonmez just recently, it was about a year and a half ago, comes in, he just emails me. He didn't have to fucking email me. He was like, I now understand what you meant when you were saying that Anthony's fucking crazy. I'm like, that's cool. We're good. Don't worry. He was supposedly leaving the manosphere. I don't know if he has or not, but he didn't have to email me. And I could have said, yeah, see, I told you so. Me, fuck you. I could have said that. I didn't. I'm like, you know what? A lot of people made mistakes with this guy too. I told him this. I told John this. I said, at least you didn't start a business with the motherfucker. At least you didn't try to get going to business with him, which is what I did. And we kind of left it at that. But that's, that to me anyways is sort of I don't want to say it's a loyalty test, but it's certainly observing it when the shit hits the fan. Who's got your back when shit hits the fan? When Abba and Preach went after Myron and Fresh, I was right there. In fact, I called them and said, let's go and nip this in the bud. They didn't want to do it, unfortunately, but I was there and I did that. When Miranda went down, I had their back. When Ethan Klein got that 19-year-old chick or whatever, underage chick who was like supposed to have, I don't know if you guys even remember that underage chick who they were supposedly like supplying alcohol to, but it turns out she's really a party girl, and Myron had all the receipts. I'm glad they defended themselves, but I was right there saying, this guy, like, why? Let's go get this motherfucker, right? And I mean, there's several other different instances. Hell, even Donovan Sharp recently, and this was like last year, I think, when Abba and Preach went after Donovan Sharp, people kept coming at me, and they were like, why don't you disavow Donovan? Don't you know he's married to a single mom? Don't you know that like they're they're in arrears or some shit like that, or they're bankrupt, or I don't even know, whatever. It was basically the same bullshit that Anthony Johnson had spread about Donovan like years before, and Abba and Preach made it sound like it was something fucking new. And I went after Abba and Preach. I didn't have to do this. I didn't have to fucking go at them, but I put my fucking brand's integrity on the line because it was the right fucking thing to do, man. And I went out there and I said, no, these guys are full of shit. They're getting their information from third hand probably from Anthony Johnson. And most likely it's old ass fucking gossip and old ass bullshit. I didn't have to take it on the chin for Donovan. I haven't done anything with him for a long time, but I saw that and I go, you know what? I'm not going to let these guys get away with that. I did that. People came at me, called me old, called me a old fart, called me, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. Oh, who even wants to listen to Rolo anymore, right? But I did that and I took it on the chin for fucking Donovan. He didn't ask me to do it. I just fucking did it. So there's certainly times where people who are sort of have been loyal to me or have been loyal to like the principle, I think is probably a better thing. Like, I don't expect loyalty to me. I expect loyalty and dedication and just absolute just dedication to the red pill, to the principle. And really that's where my head is at, is I have a obligation and a dedication to that fucking principle. That's the problem. So it seems it's difficult to get anyone everyone rats one out if it's convenient. Yeah. You know why? Because the payoff, the short-term payoff seems like it's a better deal or it's going to put you in a better position in the future than staying true to the fucking principle. That's why. And that's why if I have a problem with Myron doing something with Pearl, or I have a problem with like for instance, I've had other people say, hey, I have a problem with you talking to him or doing something like that. I'm going to take that to heart. I'm going to listen to these people and tell me, well, why would you have a problem with that? And the reason for that is because for all these guys who want to talk about fucking stoicism and iron sharpens iron, a lot of people don't want to take fucking constructive criticism, particularly from people who know better. Myself and Aaron Clary told Fresh, watch your fucking ass for paternity suits. Watch your ass for SA charges. And by the way, I worked in wine and spirits for so long. The first thing I notice is when the girls are on the table and they're sucking down White Claws and 2 or 3 of the girls say, yeah, I'm 19, I'm 20, I'm 18, whatever. And they're drinking. That's underage drinking. And you're supplying them with alcohol. And I said, it's not going to be the girls that are going to get you. It's going to be the haters. It's going to be the Abbas and Preaches. It's going to be the people who hate your fucking guts who are going to report you. And I'm glad to say they started putting, booze in red Solo cups after that. Good on you. I was the one that called that out because I'm the one I've been working in wine and spirits for so long that I'm very sensitive to seeing what might be or might not be underage drinking. Glad we nipped that one in the bud when we did. Why? Because I'm loyal to these guys, because if I want to see them fucking succeed, I don't want to see them go down for some stupid shit like that. If I'm going to tell them that, I have to be able to tell you that. If you are in my family, we're going to fight. I'll tell you right now, because sometimes families need to fight. Sometimes you need a swift kick in the ass. Sometimes you need your boy to tell you, man, you need to fucking check yourself. That's what I was doing when I was talking about them, co-branding with Pearl. That's what I was talking about. Whenever I see them doing something, I'm a little bit like, maybe that's like a little off brand. Maybe you don't have Sneeko on there. Maybe you don't have DJ Academics on here. I don't think he necessarily has your fucking best interests at heart. It's up to them to make that choice. But I'm going to be the guy who's going to say, I'm seeing this and I'm pointing it out to you. That's the guy that's loyal to you. I don't want yes men in my fucking backfield. I want guys who are going to tell me you're fucking up. I want iron to sharpen iron. And that has to be the first guiding principle of anything that has to do with loyalty or anything that has to do to any kind of commitment to principle. AVM says, they are young, Rolo. They will make mistakes. Of course they will. And that's the thing is, and you're going to make those mistakes. And hopefully you're not going to fall so far off the fucking rails that you're going to fall off. Myron's a loyal guy. Keep him close, Rolo. It's hard to find these days. Thank you. Let's see. Dandelion. Where's Dandelion? Sorry. I've got to catch up to these. My goodness. Rolo, Myron's loyalty is appreciated, but to be honest, Fresh destroyed the credibility of the show. I think you should withhold judgment for at least another week before you say that. Because remember, a lot of people, Dandelion, I get what I'm glad you said that, but there's a lot that goes on behind. Like I said, I'm talking to James Sexton. I know things, and I don't want to say anything because I don't want to fuck anything up for these guys. So just bear that in mind. Give it another week before you make that call. I know it looks like that. I hate it. You know, I tell you, you want to know when people are loyal to you, when shit looks really bad, and it looks so bad that if you support them, you get the shit on you too. But you know what's really going on, and you're just like, just fucking withhold, just let it ride for a little bit longer. Rolo, I respect your work when it comes to the red pill on the emotional relationship side, but Alan Roger Curry's Rip teaches the red pill on the sexual side and teaches do not mislead or lie to women to get sex. Right. Good. Thank you. Yes. Mode 1. Rolo, now that you mention it, loyalty and friendship, why does FNF never promote your book? I think they kind of do. Also, curious question. Did they ever read your book instead of promote OnlyFans girls? Okay. Well, we're going to talk about that. Let's save that one for later. SpongeBob, FYI, Bob. I'm not letting Fresh off the hook today. I know it probably sounds like I'm trying to gloss their tits or anything like that. I'm not really trying to do that, but Fresh fucked up, and we're going to talk about why he fucked up here in a minute. And he knows he fucked up, and Myra knows he fucked up. Sneeko is the best Blasian name. Thank you. Yeah, and I got that. I got this exact same tweet Thursday on Access Vegas. Thanks, bro. There you go. You got it twice. How you like that? Nuke. Hey, but one thing they love more than a hero is to see a hero fail, die trying. In spite of everything you've ever done for them, eventually they will hate you. Yes. Or what was it? Is that the Joker? Is that a quote from the Joker? No, it's what was the other one? Die a hero or live to see yourself become the villain. I would add one more thing to that. Die a hero or see yourself become the villain. And then eventually you're the villain becomes the hero again. Who, whether you die, and it goes into a circular arc. But point taken. You quote Robert Greene a lot. And I'm going to quote him on this one too. And recommend playing the game. You don't strike me as a guy that will burn people, and I think you're a stand-up guy. Thanks. We need to look at the extent to which some people play the game and some are extreme. Cool. Very well taken. Wayne, member Wayne. You too could be a member. To me, this whole trap setup sounds more sophisticated than the brainstorm of one IG model she's got to help behind the scenes. Yes, she does. That's my conspiracy theory for the day. You're not too far off the mark, especially if you listen to the conversation. I'll play a little bit of the tape, or a little bit of the pre-recorded, intentionally, illegally recorded. I think I don't know if Fresh realized what was going on at the time. Maybe he did. But at one point during the recorded conversation, the illegally recorded conversation, by the way, which is a felony in Florida, I just came to find that out. And at one point during the conversation, she says, "What are you going to do to me?" And Fresh is like, "What do you mean? What am I going to do? Nothing." That right there tells me she was reading from a script, or she is being coached in some way, because what they were hoping is that he was going to say something incriminating that's going to be threatening to him. And then if that were the case, if that were to have happened, and it didn't, but if that were to have happened, then they probably could have used that, pre-recorded phone call admissible in court. Turns out it's not going to be. In fact, she's going to face serious felony criminal charges for doing that. So, and I think she's beginning to understand that. I'll tell you what's funny is, like, I think that whoever is coaching her from behind the scenes, and I'm pretty sure someone is, I don't think that they realized that they were going to retain James Sexton. Like, you're in a fucking world of hurt if you got James on the other side of the table. I'm going to tell you right now. Let's see. I'll tell you what's going to be interesting. This is just me soft or spitballing here. I think that I don't want to say this, but I do want to say this. I think that if James Sexton goes on like Lex Friedman again, or he gets on Joe Rogan, which I believe they're talking about right now. If he gets on a big name podcast, I guarantee you they will ask him about this. Guarantee you they will ask him about this case. Glad you mentioned loyalty and friendship. That's one thing, but reading your book is another. Other than Torsha and Kiyosaki, list the friends who read your book. I wish I could. I wish I really could. I know, I hate it when it becomes trendy to say, oh, I never read Rollo's book. I know what you're going to get at because I have it in my notes here. No, Fresh never read my book. And I'll explain to you why that was probably to his detriment. So everyone's done with the red pill, right? But now they want to talk about one of the bigger faces in the red pill, of course. Ape King. Hey, Rollo, another saved soul here. Thank you very much. I would give you a Don DeMarco, but I still don't have my soundboard up. Question for you. What do you say when my girl asks my body count? You say, that's actually an iron rule. I'll tell you what the iron rule is here. What Rational Male book talks about sexual zoning, and what Rational Male book talks about sexual zoning? That is the Player's Handbook. It's the 5th book. And why a workplace is a bad idea. It's in the 5th book, the Player's Handbook. Cappy contradicts you on that in Bachelor Pad Economics. Yeah, well, you got to remember Bachelor Pad Economics came out about like 12 or 13 years before mine did. So have a counter. I don't know exactly what you think would be a counter. I would need a little bit more context to that, but we'll get to the iron rules of Tomasi here in a minute. But that, as far as the body count is concerned, it's how many chicks have you had sex with? Always dodge that question for a guy. Anyways, hee-ho, I will get to you here in a minute. What do you say here? Ways to talk to women that make spinning plates less time consuming. Well, you can actually read that. Come to think of it, you can read that in the Player's Handbook as well. Look at the section in the Player's Handbook that is it outlines or details the differences between direct game and indirect game. Talking enough on IG to set up a date is too time consuming. Why? How long does it take you? I have 22-year-old, 1,100 followers, and I'm probably a 7 of 8. A 7-8? Is IG the best way to arrange dates with women? Yes, it is. Funny you should say that. Let me hold on. I'm gonna hang on to your question here real quick. Because I got this one now. Rob Base, thank you. Rollo, you have been an inspiration to me since my divorce. I started a private group years ago for divorced dads. Cool. 4,000 members. Wow. I would love to showcase the Rational Male series to them. Any chance of a collab? Sure. Rob, just email. All my contact information is in the description. Yeah, anytime, man. I'd love to, especially for guys like I'm actually working on something for older guys in MOA right now. And now that I'm a little bit more free to do it, I think I'd probably actually get off my ass and do it. So, oh, good. All right. Getting back to the topic at hand here today. All right, so I wanted to throw that one out there. I think one of the things that we have to be really careful of, especially in the red pill, as I said, my loyalty is to the principle. My loyalty is, as I keep saying, there's no ideology to the red pill, but if there is a mission statement of the red pill, I will say it's an obligation to objective truth. Okay. My loyalty is to the principle. I have an obligation to objective truth. Sometimes that obligation directly conflicts with profitability. And that's where you have the problem. That's when people say, hey man, it's just business. No, it's not fucking business. It's just business. It wasn't just business when you started the podcast. It wasn't just business when you started writing the book. It wasn't, you're writing for, when you start writing for an audience, when you start producing content that your audience, you think your audience will respond to, that you're going to make a little bit extra, you're going to make that extra $50 super chat, you're going to make that extra little bit of money. Like when I look at whatever podcast, and I don't know Brian like personally or anything like that, but when I see Brian, when I see Pearl, when I see these guys who came into this space with nothing prior, and they build up these huge brands, essentially just like lifting material from other people, they're not Their loyalty is not to the fucking principle. Their loyalty is not to the brand, or is to the brand. Their loyalty is not to the praxeology, not to the red pill, because sometimes it's not fucking profitable. Lord knows I have up years and I have down years when it comes to profitability, and I roll with it because I'm about objective truth. I'm about the praxeology of the red pill. And the problem is when you start building a brand that's based on that, and it starts out with an original, authentic, kind of genuine, this is really what I'm about. This is really what I think I really want to promote. This is really what I want to do. Awesome. But the problem is that over time, you get what I call what's known as lifestyle creep, right? You make a lot of money. Hey, I'm popular. Hey, I've got 500,000 subs now. Hey, I've got I don't know, 150,000 on Twitter or whatever it is. And you start seeing positive reinforcement. You start seeing popularity. You start having your ego gets built up over that. You become more about the brand, your own brand, than you do about what started that brand in the first place. So it's no longer about the red pill. It's no longer about it's no longer about what the original principle was. It's now about profitability. It's now about sustaining that brand. It's now about, because that especially difficult when that brand is intimately associated with your ego. When your revenue and your ego are measured in likes and subs and content and super chats, and when all of that is measured in those terms, anything that causes a hit to that is now something that's also causing a hit to your ego. It's technically ego investment. God damn it, get out of there. And so when you start a brand, and that brand is something that's based on something that's genuine and something authentic. I've said this, God, I can't even remember how many times. When I write, and when I used to write essays for my blog, I have since switched over to Substack. When I write those essays, I write it because it's what I want to write. It's not what I think my fan base wants to hear. I'm not right. If that was the case, I would do nothing but red meat topics all the time. I'd just be the king of fucking red meat, because that's apparently what makes you like get rich quick. But I'm committed to a principle, and that's my first loyalty, is to that fucking principle. So people go, well, why are you so hostile to Pearl? Why are you so hostile to these guys who are like, just seem like they're just like fly by night, charlatans and everything like that? I'm just like, because I have a fucking dedication to a principle, and I've been doing it for 23 years. So that's why it's not about, oh, they're more popular than you. You must be professionally jealous. No, I'm not actually. I'm just more concerned about people actually getting an honest, real shake, or honest assessment of what the red pill is. That's what I have to do these days. You want to know why in March of 2021, I said, I hope the red pill doesn't go mainstream? That's why I said that. That's why the first thing out of my mouth was the red pill, for it to be legitimate, for it to be authentic, it cannot be mainstream. The very fundamental fact of the red pill, whatever, what we used to call the red pill, what I call the red pill right now, the very fact that it is useful and it's a praxeology and it's authentic is because it's underground, is because it's not mainstream. Because when it becomes mainstream, people see it as a brand. They see it as content. And what happens then is your followers and your little micro cult, or whatever you fucking want to call it, you start appeasing them. And it's not about a dedication to principle. It's not a commitment to fucking excellence anymore. It's a commitment to putting out whatever is going to generate likes and eyes on the fucking screen, and CTR, click-through rate, and engagement. If it goes from being something that is an honest, based on a fucking principle, and then it goes to being about engagement, and your first thing out of your mouth is, it's just fucking business, you're out, you're done. You're fucking done. That's the end of it. Because now you're not about the principle. Now you're not about the underlying objective. Now you're not about the fucking mission statement anymore. Now you're about whatever supports the brand. And that is a dangerous fucking place to be. And I'll tell you why that is. Because when you see people who become cult leaders, when you see people who are, let's just say charismatic, quote unquote, gurus, because we don't want to call them cult leaders anymore. But when you see gurus who pop up here and there, it doesn't have to be in the red pill. It can be in anything. It's you're starting to see them pop up in tradcon circles right now too. And the reason why they become sort of these iconic, charismatic, I don't even know what, cult of personalities is not because they set out to be that way. It's because they lost their way on that principle at some point, and they started pandering and catering to their followers, and they became what their followers made them become. It's not the guru, it's not the cult leader, it's the cultists that create the cult leader, because all he does is say, well, seems like my audience wants me to talk about red meat, so now I'm going to be about red meat. And that's a hard place to be. That's why I get fucking run up the flagpole, because I don't want that. In every one of my books, in the introduction to all of my books, I say something very simple, which of course now I hear Pearl ripping me off about. But I say this: I'm not in the business of creating better men. I'm in the business of helping men become better men themselves. I'm in the business of educating guys and equipping guys with the information and the data and everything else, so they can connect the dots, and so that you guys can use that for your own betterment. That's why I do what I do. It's not because I want to sell you something. It's not because I don't have a course. I would like to make one, but I don't have a course. I haven't had the one biggest criticism I get from so many people who like make money hand over fist is, Rollo's really under monetized. Yes, I fucking am. You're absolutely 100% right. I am very under monetized. I sell books, and I even get criticized for selling fucking books. Oh, Rollo just wants to sell more books. I'm an author. That's what I fucking do. Jesus Christ, what I have to fucking do. Anyways, the problem is that when you have a dedication to principle, it conflicts with profitability. Have you ever seen, Kyle, maybe you've seen this. Have you seen that meme where it's like people want to sign up for a course like Get Rich Quick or Pretty Lies, and it's like just lined up around the block, and then there's like Uncomfortable Truths, and nobody's at that kiosk. No that's me. I'm at the Uncomfortable Truths kiosk, right? Nobody wants to buy that shit. Right? And there's a reason why that's funny, because it's true. Because I'll tell you, man, what happens is people want that easy lifestyle. They want to get rich quick. That's why people get upset with it. They want to turn the red pill into an ideology, because they think that if I take the red pill, then my life is going to get better. They promised that if I take this pill, it's 100% guaranteed that I'm going to live a better life. I'm going to be the best version of myself if I just take this one simple, stupid pill. Or I need to follow these 7 simple steps, these 12 rules for life. I need to follow these things, and if I do, then I'll have a better life. And then they realize later on that they don't, because they were sold a fucking bill of goods. And really, they already had the equipment, they already had the education, they already had everything they needed to actually become the better version of themselves. It's just they got too locked up in some step by step by step. I'm at step number 4, but boy, I can't wait till I get to step number 6 and 7, then I'll be happy. No, you fucking won't. You just be paying for the next step. You know that's how Scientology works. You know that's how Dianetics. You know how that's how you got to get to the next level. You got to pay to get to the next level. You got to pay to get to the next, and up and up and up until you get to find out that it's the Thetans and some fucking aliens that are out in fucking space.
The Freemasons
going to help you. Freemasons and the Illuminati are going to make you clear. 33. Yeah, that's the long and the short of it, man. But it's bullshit. And I refuse to sell bullshit, even to the point where I'm not going to be profitable because I refuse to sell bullshit. You know? The problem is like comfortable lifestyles will always outsell discomfort. That's why. It will always outsell it's not comfortable. If you think there's an easy way to get to becoming the better version of yourself, whatever it is, somebody's selling you something. Oh, 12 rules for life. Oh, that didn't work. Have 12 more in part 2. That didn't work yet. Well, let's just keep trying. I love it. I love it when people like give me this bullshit about Rollo just wants to sell books. He manipulates and preys upon these vulnerable young men. Like, I don't sell a book called 12 Rules for Fucking Life. God damn it. The thing is then what happens is people start talking about it as if it's just business, right? Oh, it's just business. It's just hustle. It's just respect that. What's funny is now people say it's just business. Don't take it so personally, right? Well, no, I do take it personally because I've been doing this for fucking 22 some odd years. People, oh, Rolo, you're gatekeeping. You're goddamn right I'm gatekeeping because nobody else fucking gatekeep. Nobody else knows how to do it. Nobody else was in Miami March 1st on 2021 saying what I fucking said. That's why I'm going to be unprofitable. I'm going to be less profitable than if I was selling you like pretty sweet little sugar-coated bullshit. Okay. Once you replace the principle with clout and sustainable branding, all the notions of loyalty fade because the unifying motive is gone. So you want to know how friendships and how loyalty sort of fades between people. The problem is you become more about the brand than you are about the underlying principle that started it in the first fucking place. That's why. If you want real loyalty, if you want to know what, like I got the question of this guy, how do I find loyal friends? You want real fucking loyalty. You have to make sure that guy is just as dedicated to that purpose and that mission as you are. And when you look at it, you could be completely off base. But there's people who like will go to the grave being loyal to somebody who's completely 100% wrong. But you know why they're still loyal to that person? Because they're both committed to the same bullshit. But if you're committed to the same reality and the same truth and the same, like in a good way, those are the friendships that are going to stand. They're going to weather the hard bullshit. Okay. Once that unifying motive is gone, once your brand cares more about its followers, once your brand cares more about catering and pandering to an audience that is your bread and butter, it's your revenue stream, plus it's your ego revenue stream. When it becomes more about that, that's when the ties of loyalty fall apart. When it becomes just about, oh, it's just business. No, it's not fucking business. It's about the fucking principle. Okay. So it's why people have a problem with me, and my obligation is to principle. It conflicts with brand. It conflicts with other people's brand. So if I'm still committed to the underlying principle of the red pill, if I'm still committed to an obligation to objective truth and somebody else isn't, then that's when they say, well, I know, Rolo, you need to get with the times, man. No, what I'm not doing is I'm not pandering to an audience. Okay. That's why I expect to be completely abandoned. Yeah, I should say this. I expect to be completely abandoned. I have been several times, by the way. Now, not to say that I have people who have my back. There's a select few people that, like I said, I trust implicitly. But I think it was on Rule 0 one time, and I said this. I said, I totally expect people to just like throw me under the bus at the very first instance. I mean, it's just like Andrew Huberman, right? We want to see our heroes fail. We want them to take it on the fucking chin. That's why when all that bullshit went down with Destiny and fucking Lauren Southern and fucking Venti and everything, I remember trying to explain to Myron what the fuck was going on. Like almost 6 or 8 months after the fact, and I was completely like uninterested in it anymore. Why do you have such a problem with Pearl now? But the reason you would know that if you cared enough to know what the fuck was going on at that fucking time. If you cared enough to understand why I have a problem with Pearl, if you care, like I'm of the opinion right now that if you don't know what's going on with the people that I have a problem with, that's on you, not on me. It's a lack of interest in what's going on, right? So when people say, well, I don't understand why Rolo's not associating with me, it's like, I just did this with Pearl, I'm co-branded with Pearl, I don't understand why he has such a problem with that, but it's just business, right? Yeah, that's fucking why. That's why, because when those words come out of your mouth, you're no longer about the principle. You're about it's just business. That's why. And you should know already. You should know why I have a problem. You should know what's going on. I've said it this way before. I'll reiterate this one more time. I won't belabor this point. But when I don't know about you guys, maybe Kyle, I don't know what your dad was like, Kyle, but I remember when my dad gave me the look. You'd be mouthing off, you'd be like getting all cocky and shit like that, or you'd say something about your mom didn't like, or you're misbehaving or something, and your dad doesn't have to get the belt out to spank you or anything like that. He just gives you that
mean look,
and you're like, oh shit, I just fucked up, right? Because you know what comes after that look, and it's that It's that nah. And so what happens is like after a while, you kind of go, you want to know how we instill virtues and values and principles into our children is for men anyways, is the look. I mean, maybe probably mothers do the same thing too, right? But it's the look. And that look is, okay, if I do this, would my mom give me the look? Would my dad give me the look if I do these things as an adult, right? Would my dad like give me the look for this? And that's really like at some point you kind of like what becomes sort of natural to you, like your embedded internalized principles and the things that you like hold as your quote unquote values and stuff like that. Hopefully they came from your parents, but it doesn't not necessarily have to. But when you get that look, when you get that discipline, eventually you go, yeah, my parents probably wouldn't really like it if I did that. In fact, I wouldn't like it if I do that. Now I understand why they would be upset, right? It's that internalizing that understanding of what your parents or what an authority figure. It doesn't even have to be like, it could be your boss, right? It could be your sergeant. You could be in the military as well, or your coach, for example. Like maybe you're in a sports team or something like that. And you go, you know what, coach probably wouldn't like it if I did this. And then after a while, it's like, no, then what coach didn't like is what you don't like. Or what coach liked, it becomes what you like. Maybe it's a good habit. It doesn't always have to be bad, right? And that's my sort of understanding when it comes, you want to talk about loyalty? You want to, like, loyalty to me is, you know what Rolo's going to say. You know, if I give you the look, right? Like maybe I shouldn't do that. Maybe I shouldn't. Maybe if I'm going to stay dedicated to this principle, then perhaps maybe I don't want to engage in this activity or deal with this particular individual. Maybe that's the way it should be. Maybe something will happen. Maybe it won't. But the problem is like when you get to the point where your own personal interests and your own like for lack of a better word, pandering to your constituency, pandering to your audience, pandering to your followers becomes more important than really worrying about what your mentors, your teachers, your coach, your father, your mom, whatever would give you the look for. That's when you got a fucking problem. And by the way, it's easy to do. It's especially now, especially in the age of social media. I completely understand. All right, we're going to get back. Now, I got a question earlier about the 48 laws of power. Okay, well, here's what I'm going to explain to you. This is actually law number 13, okay? When you are asking for help, always appeal to self-interests. Why am I saying this? We'll get to that. Never appeal to self-interests, never mercy or obligations of gratitude. Hey, man, remember when I did that favor for you? Well, now I need some help. Hey, remember when I loaned you X amount of money? Well, can I call in that loan? I need a chip, right? Never appeal to mercy. Always appeal to self-interests, right? And the reason why is because usually those friendships were developed and they were formed based on mutual self-interests. So when you look at, like, say, clout and profit, when those are the only modifiers of self-interest, which they are now, when you replace principle with brand, people's loyalty is only predicated on mutual interests. See what I'm saying? So when it comes to that mutual interest that kept you, that made you friends in the first place, that developed that sort of loyalty and duty, and in some cases honor between men, when that is removed, all that's left is personal interest. All that's left is clout. All that's left is profit after that point. And that's when you know that you want to know why people get disloyal. It's because clout and profit become more appealing than duty to fucking principle. And that loyalty that was based on that principle is completely removed. That's where disloyalty happens. That's when it falls apart. Okay. Sticking to principle, most people start with principle and devolve into brand. But once the principle-based brand becomes a business template, then you get the hustlers, right? Then it becomes a formula that people can build a brand and escalate that brand on. So what is the escalation part? The escalation part is like, well, if Myron and Fresh are kicking bitches off the show, then I need to kick 10 bitches off the show. If Myron is kicking girls off the show and dressing them down, then I need to tell them they're worthless pieces of shit and they need male guidance and they're all neurotic from the jump of the show. And then it's basically, you're just escalating and escalating, right? Escalation becomes necessary when the market for the template gets oversaturated. So when there's more people doing the same thing, that's when people have to up their game. So it's not enough to be Maury Povich. Now you got to be Jerry Springer. Now it's not enough to be Jerry Springer. Now you got to be, Geraldo Rivera. now you have to up it and up it and up it and up it. And everything gets ratcheted up to like probably an Overton window at some point, right? When the competition gets to where it threatens sustainability, that's when being diplomatic with your competitors is compromised, or you go into the offensive with old rivals you used to tolerate. Loyalty means fuck all when lifestyle creep peaks because of competitors. That's when you ally yourself with a former enemy, or you go to war with him, even when that enemy was a trusted friend, back when you base your motives on principle. Understand? Let me get to, before I continue, because we have to talk about vasectomies next. That's going to be, we'll rewind the tape. There's friends and there's long-term acquaintances. Men who I call friends remove me from the circle because I refuse to take the jab. Test of friendship will occur naturally. Well, what that shows you is that their paranoia becomes an ideology. I tell you what gets me about this whole thing is like, and I'm seeing it in reverse now too. When you didn't get the jab, you were ostracized. Now, if you got the jab, you're also ostracized. So it plays both ways. I love it when people say, "Oh, well, I'm a Republican, I'm a Democrat, I'm based and I'm woke and stuff." Trust me, I don't care what your fucking ideology is. You will gladly use ostracization and gladly use the same cancel culture techniques and weapons that the other side uses and not have any qualms about it whatsoever. It just all depends on who is enjoying the most power at that particular time. And you're right to dump friends that would blow your friendship over something as stupid as that. And it's even more stupid when you think about it in hindsight too. When you think about the jab, and you think about COVID, and you think about everything else. I will never, ever fucking forgive people for what happened to my mom. Never. Fuck off. I don't know if people even understand what I'm talking about. If you follow, you should fucking know this already. But when my mom, it was in 2020, my mom was already in an assisted living facility. She was like in the last years of her life, and I knew that she was. And that's when, like, right around, was it March? Beginning of March, end of February, beginning of March 2020. And then all the lockdowns happened, right? And my mom is in an assisted living facility, and they locked everything down. I'm happy to say I was there on the last day I could see her, and I hugged her and I kissed her and I loved on her as much I could. I was hoping, I said, "Hey, Mom, we're just going to ride this out. Don't worry. I'm going to come and see you all the time, blah, blah. I'm going to do whatever I can. I will make sure that I got all your groceries. I got all your food. I got everything that you like." She likes chocolates, blah, blah. Gave her pictures of the dogs, pictures of my daughter, pictures of my nephew and my niece, trying to be the good son, right? I knew she was on the last legs of her life. But I did all of that from March all the way up to December 3rd, 2020, when she passed away, because C19 got into the assisted living place. And I was not allowed to see her from March until the day she died in December. I basically went and saw her from behind a screen, from her window. And I would go out there, I'd grab a chair. Sometimes I'd bring my guitar or my bouzouki or whatever, and I'd play for her a little bit because she used to like that. I would sit there and talk to her. And at least once a week, sometimes twice a week, I would go, I had to drive, Reno to Gardnerville, which is about an hour and a half. And I'd go and spend time with my mom. And I had to do it behind her window, and she had a screen there and everything else. If you've seen me on Twitter, you'll understand what I'm saying. And my wife, when I got the news that she had passed, my wife was like wondering why I wasn't crying, because I was fucking furious, like rage like I've never felt before, like was superseded any kind of sad. And I cried when, we were at the funeral, of course, but like right then I was raging pissed off, because it's like, I just got this call. "Oh, your mom's passed." What? "Oh yeah, well, we had C19 got through here, and well, she passed away in from I don't know, pneumonia complications, whatever. And I was like, that's it. You know, you weren't going to call me and let me know that she, you know, she's on her last leg. Can I come down and see her like before she dies? No. And you know what? Even after that, I was not allowed to see her at the morgue. I was not allowed to see the body because C-19, and I was not, we had to have a closed casket burial in Lake Tahoe. And they weren't even going to let us allow my mother-in-law to come to the gathering, to the funeral. It was only like immediate family, like me, my wife, my brother, his wife, and his kids, and my kid. And I'm like, fuck that. No, my mother-in-law is going to be here too, because they were like best friends, right? So brought them. And I mean, that's how tight this was. And that was in, well, let's see, it would have been mid-December of 2020. And here we are like 4 years later. So when people start talking to me about like the jab this and COVID that and everything else, I'm like, go fuck yourself. Go die, please. Just go away. Because that's how crazy people got. So when I see shit like this, like, oh, my acquaintances like blew me out. You know what? Tell them to fucking go die. Go fuck off. Because that's what they told my mom. Go die. So sorry, I didn't mean to get too heavy, but you know. Rollo suggests some non-intersexual red pill books. You mean like fiction? Non-intersexual red pill books. You mean political? Because I don't see any. Red pill is intersexual, period. Hey Rollo, I live in Canada. It's getting increasingly difficult to avoid all this woke pronoun nonsense. It's affecting work, communication in daily life. What would you do? Here's what you can do. Refuse to use pronouns. Refuse to use that language. I think it was in George Orwell's 1984. There is a quote in there, and it said, "If language can control thought, or if thought can control language, then language can control thought." And I think what's interesting is like Jordan Peterson became like internet famous for refusing to use like forced language, like forced pronouns. And it was like later on, he kind of backpedaled a little bit, saying like, oh, you know, it's not that I wouldn't use them if you asked me to. It's just I don't want to be forced to use them. I don't want to be forced compliance, right? Legally mandated to use your fucking pronouns, right? And, you know, I thought that was pretty cool at the time, but I think everybody took that a little step further than what they thought he actually meant in all of that. But I would say this is if you want to actually, you want to fight back, stop using their language. Stop pandering to nonsense. Start using the language of empiricism and stop using the language of emotionalism. When people want you to say this, say my pronouns, say this. Oh, that's offensive. Oh, that's not approved language or whatever. Deliberately use that. That's the only thing you can do, because that is the only, I would say, the only real way you can push back, at least where it would begin, would be not using that language, because they want you to use the language so that they can control thought. Thank you, George Orwell. Refuse to use the language. Always opt for the language of empiricism, not emotionalism, because what happens is you're just pandering to that neuroses. Love you, Rollo. One question about psych. What is the difference between shit tests and boundary enforcement? Okay, I'll get back to you. That's off topic. First thing is a great idea. First, something is a great idea, then it becomes a cause, then it becomes a business, and finally it becomes a racket. Yes, Eric Hoffer. I remember that. Eric Hoffer is what's happened to the red pill. Yes, you are correct. And you know what? Here's the thing, though. Here's the good. You want the good news? The good news is that it's going to come full circle again. When I was making those declarations, I guess, in March 1st of 2021, when they were asking me, hey, Rollo, is the red pill going to go mainstream? As I mentioned before, I remember Roosh saying something about the red pill is going to go mainstream in 2013, which of course was like, what, 2 years before the beginning of the election cycle for Trump. But the reason why I was mentioning all of that is because I had just come through all that. This was March of 2021. So I'd already gone through the election cycle. I'd already experienced all the bullshit that happened in June of 2019 with Anthony Johnson and all their conspirators, right? And now I was on this side of it. And the lesson that I had learned from all of that experience was the red pill needs to stay underground. The red pill needs to not be mainstream if it's ever going to stay legitimate. The problem is everybody wants it to be mainstream because it's more profitable if it is. You want to know why you have tradcon women and trad thoughts and trad femmes and all these Christ pill, like, what, power wives and power moms talking shit about the red pill, and they've got no fucking clue what they're talking. They absolutely have no idea. They're just content farming. They're just engagement farming is what they're doing. Click farming on Twitter. And the reason why the reason they can do that is because the red pill has become something that it never was intended to be. It has to be mainstream for them to talk shit about it. So now the people who hate it find that it's even more useful. Why? Because it's mainstream. That's why. All the bullshit. No one was using the term incel in 2016. No one was using even the term manosphere really all that much anyways in 2015, 2016. Nobody even really talked about the red pill as much. They did in 2015 because they wanted to, like, all tradcons, alt-right people, all the MAGA people wanted to say they were red pill because it was this cutesy little brand that they could just sort of appropriate for themselves and call themselves red pill, and we're alt-right and we're MAGA people, blah, 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 right? They wanted to use that as this easy brand and this easy term that people understood. And then let me tell you something, right around 2017, poof, nobody cared. And I'll tell you right now, after November 6th, poof, everything. Remember, 2020, in December of 2020, and then this beginning of January of 2021, that's when I first went on Myron and Fresh. And then February and then March. Hey, is the red pill going to go mainstream? And I learned my lesson from 2019. I said, no, I hope it doesn't, because the only way it's going to stay, real and authentic and legitimate is if it stays underground, because that's really what it was intended to be. It's punk rock, man. You don't want it to go mainstream. You don't want, it's like saying, oh, well, should your favorite punk rock band turn into Green Day, right? Should the Circle Jerks and the Exploited become Green Day? No, they shouldn't. They should stay underground, because that's what makes them fucking cool, and that's what makes them fucking authentic and legitimate. When they start taking a paycheck for it and they start fucking selling their asses out, that's when you have problems, because it's no longer about the principle. It's no longer about the objective obligation to objective truth. It's about the fucking paycheck. And that's when bonds of loyalty fray. Let's see. Love you, Rolo. No homo. One question about psych. Okay, I got to you already. Boundaries and enforcement. Okay, I got to you. Let's see here. Y'all better went to church today. I hope you did. Hope you went to church today, Tradcons. Sorry to hear about what happened to you, Rolo. Oh, thank you. It's over. It's gone. The hate still keeps me warm. Sorry about your mom, bro. My dad just passed. Yeah, it sucks. I try not to dwell on it. Let's see. FYI, Bob, again, the principle of the red pill is one thing, but the red pill grift is another. Shaming, blaming, and explaining, yes, to women about the red pill is more profitable than the principle. Of course it is. That's why people think it's an ideology, by the way. Hey, thank you for that. $200, my friend. Longtime listener to Rational Male, or to our RT, Roll Tomasi. I've been stabbed in the back by so many MA guys bringing my girlfriend to my classes. Why my MA guys so blue pill? Asking from a guy who had to fight for his freedom in court from dudes taking her side. I won, lost lots of friends for not being or siding with the white knights. That's always going to be the case. What was it? Was it Warren Buffett that said this like that? No, it wasn't Warren Buffett. Somebody else said, the market can stay chaotic longer than you can stay solvent. He's talking about an economy. Well, the sexual marketplace is also an economy, and blue pill men can stay insane longer than you can stay sane. So bear that in mind. There's always going to be a majority of guys, the 80%ers, right? The beta male 80%ers, the invisibles, the according to Homath, the not people, are always going to outnumber the guys who are self-aware, are red pill aware. So it's just something you have to deal with. Like when people ask me like, Rollo, I want to unplug my dad, I want to unplug my brother or my best friend before he makes the worst mistake of his life, yada yada yada. And every time I try to give him your book, he says you're a misogynist and he says, horrible things about you. And I'm like, you just got to give him what you give. It's like triage, man. You got to fucking save the ones you can, read Last Rites to the Dying, and then move on to the next one. That's the best you can do. Hate to say it, but that's how it works. I prefer the red pill to be underground. Well, you and me both. And last but not least, I'm glad the red pill is mainstream. We get the hate, but it's created room for talks that are needed. But the money, our principle is a problem. More eyes, more money. Yeah. Well, it dilutes the principle. It dilutes the original intent of it, really. I mean, such as it is. All right. So let's talk about Fresh. But before we do, you have to see this. Hey,
W Fresh in the chat. W Fresh in the chat.
All right, good enough. You had enough of that? That's what's her name? Chen. What the fuck is her name? Mrs. Chen. Let's just call her Mrs. Chen. Is it Lila Chen? I can't even remember what her name is. Yeah, that's the girl. And I'm just going to point out a few things here. I got some other, that is a very long video, and I didn't want to show you the entire thing because you're going to see a lot of it here in just a minute. I forget the guy who's doing this outline, but I just want to catch you. Oh, Daisy Chen. Thank you very much. Daisy, really? Okay. I want to show you this. Apologies. I don't know who the dude is who's where I pulled this video from, but it's pretty thorough. I'm not going to let the whole thing go, but I'm just going to sort of just riff on this for a minute here.
Fresh and Fit Podcast just got exposed by an IG chick who he got pregnant, and he's trying to convince her to get rid of it. He leaked text messages, private audio conversations.
I want to keep the baby.
Okay. Well, like I said, I just don't want any kids.
She got Fresh looking bad, but there are a lot of problem areas, if not outright lies, on her part that no one else is going to talk about but me. Let's start from the beginning. She hit him with
well, actually, everybody's been talking about it, but
the classic at-home pregnancy test picture. She told him that you always told me you wanted me to be your baby's mother. I love you. And I did everything to be a good girlfriend. Now this is happening and you walked away. She's talking about how he walked away before he found out or she told him that she was pregnant. This was something that she did after the fact, and we're going to get into that. He said, I'll call shortly. You can see right there that he did actually call, and she actually released the audio of that conversation, and we're going to play that in a second. Then she sent him the results to an actual pregnancy test that was performed by the doctor. Now pay attention to the date of this particular test. It was on April 1st, and also pay attention to the 3 to 4 weeks that you see there at the bottom. 3 to 4 weeks that she's been pregnant. It's going to mess up a timeline, so stay tuned. This is going to get interesting. This is the part where they're negotiating. Then she hit him with the man up, and I have an issue with that because morality and legality aside, he's allowed to just put in his vote for her keeping it or not keeping it. She obviously has veto power over his vote, but he's allowed to put in his vote. This is the negotiation phase, morality aside. The man up does not come into play until after she keeps it and he gets a DNA test. And that's going to be very important given what I'm about to unfold later on. Stay tuned. But anyway, let's get to the good part where her timeline and chronology does not add up. And then we're going to get to the audio. All right. Very important. She says, I met him on November 21st in Miami, and I fell in love with him. I left Miami on January 8th and traveled back to China for the Chinese New Year. And we had a long distance relationship for 2 months until I traveled to Barbados to meet his entire family. He made everything so real that he is serious with me. Therefore, I'm not on birth control, and we had sexual behavior without protection. Now, let me get this right. This man who you were around from November 21st all the way to January 8th, that's a whopping 47 days that you had actually been around this man in person. And that was enough for you to get off of birth control. No matter how you slice it, that is poor pussy management.
Poor pussy management. Oh, God. All right. So we'll continue here. I just want to stop it at this point really quickly. Let me see. Push me back there. So poor pussy management, right? Well, I just want to point something out at this critical juncture here. You see, right around, let's see, the end of April, I think it was the end of it, middle of April of last year, I put out this tweet. And it was this throwaway tweet that I just, I was actually responding to Dr. Richard Reeves. I was just retweeting something he said. And I made this list. And amongst the things that were on this list, of which there were like eight different articles on this list. Well, the third thing that was on this list, on this infamous tweet, was to young men the quickest way to becoming a high value man. One of those articles was get a vasectomy in your 20s. Now, I was being flippant. Of course, everybody takes it dead ass seriously. I also mentioned avoid family creation. I also, what was it? I also added avoid marriage, get a vasectomy in your 20s. Always be lifting, stay on your mission. Get the bag. There's all kinds of other articles on there, but everybody seemed to fixate on just the vasectomy part. And I will say, to Myron's credit, he had my back, for a time there anyways, versus Sneeko and Destiny and some of these other idiots who wanted to say, oh, Rolo's the red pill, those guys say get a vasectomy. And of course, by, I don't know, about June or July, everybody was suddenly thinking that the red pill was advocating for, gender reassignment surgery, because Rollo Tomasi had said something about how you need to, sterilize yourself as a man, right? And everybody wants to take it dead ass seriously. And of course, it's just engagement farming. And they just, I gave them a bit of red meat. You give them an inch and they take it and run a mile with it. Got it. I understand the principle. But now suddenly that vasectomy tweet doesn't sound so fucking crazy, does it? Because the point I was trying to make in a rather extreme fashion, let's just say, was to protect yourself from getting baby trapped. Not unlike our hero Fresh is being baby trapped right now. So suddenly that vasectomy tweet doesn't seem as laughable and as funny as it used to about a year ago now. So let's just keep that in mind as we keep going through here. I'm also going to read you actually, you know what? I think I will read it to you right now. I'm going to read to you a excerpt from, let's see, where did it go? Oh, wait a minute. I got some other good shit here for you too. But let's go with the rational male. Now, I also would like to point out that there was a time, I think it was in 2023, where Fresh was yammering on about how he had never read The Rational Male to a certain Sneeko and God knows whatever other Twitch kids happened to be at the time, and mentioned something that he had never read The Rational Male. Well, had he actually read The Rational Male, he could not avoid reading one of the 9 iron rules of Tomasi. It's one of the lesser known rules, I should say, too. It's actually iron rule number 5, which I'm going to read to you right now. Here it is. December 6th, 2011 is when I wrote this. It's called birth control because someone is controlling the birth. There are presently, now remember, I'm writing this in 2011, right? There are presently 41 different types of contraception available for women. For men, there are only 2, a vasectomy or a condom. Okay. Now, stop. Don't lose your fucking minds. Yes, I know. Abstinence could be a form of contraception. Great. All you incels and all you virgins and everybody else, congratulations. You're doing the right thing. Yes. Can we move on? Good. Let's keep going. Your only line of defense against her choice. The only thing separating a man from a lifetime, not 18 years, a lifetime of interacting with the decider of altering the course of his life is a thin layer of latex, or else you can get a vasectomy, right? Thus, we come to Iron Rule of Tomasi number 5. Never allow a woman to be in control of the birth. Had our hero, Fresh, read The Rational Male, perhaps he would have read this and taken it to heart. I don't know. Kind of a moot point at this day. Always have protection. I have had far too many guys hit me with the argument that they implicitly trust their girlfriends to be on the pill or whatever, and that she doesn't want kids, only to be an unprepared daddy 9 months later after the accident. The only accident they had was not being in control of the birth themselves. In fact, I'd argue that men need to use extra caution when in a long-term relationship, since the ease of getting too relaxed with her is ever present. Accidental pregnancy is actually a cottage industry now. For a woman with education, without education, or even with and without means, an unplanned pregnancy may be a pretty good prospect, especially when every law and social expectation weighs in her favor, which is exactly what we're seeing happen with Fresh right now in 2024. These are the professional mommies. In fact, that was the title of the essay, Professional Mothers. They're professional mommies. When I counseled in Reno, I still do occasionally. When I counseled in Reno, I knew a guy who married this woman who had 3 children from 2 fathers, who he himself had impregnated with her 4th. She was a professional mother. Flush it. In 2002, the NBA issued a highly controversial and publicized warning to professional basketball players, stating that players be advised to wear condoms when having sexual intercourse with women when on road games, and to, quote unquote, flush the condom down the toilet in order to dispose of the semen. This warning was the result of several paternity suits that year involving women these players had slept with by retrieving the condom from the trash and self-impregnating themselves with the player's semen. The NBA had enough occurrences of this kind to warrant a league-wide warning that year. All of these players are now 100% liable for the welfare of these children and their former partners by default, because there are no laws protecting men from fraudulent pregnancies. Now, I'll tell you, here's just an aside here. Since I wrote this, I've also become aware of certain cases, legal cases. I think one of them is in the state of Arizona, where a woman who was doing in vitro fertilization froze the sperm of her husband, who she later divorced. She petitioned the court to retrieve the sperm because they were going to have kids, but now they were divorced, and he didn't want her to have obviously didn't want to be a father with this woman because they'd already divorced, but the female judge allowed it. And so now the woman has had children with her now divorced husband, her previously divorced husband, using his sperm, and he is now on the hook for child support, even though he didn't want to have children with his divorced wife. So these are like, with technology comes new sort of like, whose choice is it? The reason I bring this up is because Fresh is most likely experiencing this right now, which is, gentlemen, there's a rule of thumb that you need to use when you are contemplating whether or not you're going to wear a condom, or where you're going to trust your girlfriend or wife, whatever, with taking birth control. And that is this. Always repeat this to yourself. As soon as the sperm leaves your body, you are powerless over it. You don't get to decide what happens to you for the rest of your life. And I also made a point here to say that, and as far back as 2011, is It is a lifetime obligation, not 18 years. How do I know that? Because my daughter is 25 years old and I still pay for shit for her and I still love her and I still will be happy to be involved in her life for the rest of my life. And I think that after 18 years of doing that and saying, oh, I'm free and clear, I don't have to pay child support anymore, that might be true, but you will still be invested financially, emotionally in that child for the rest of your life. And it's not about a financial obligation so much as it is having to see the woman who altered the course of your life for the rest of your life and the rest of that child's life. So keep that in mind. It's not just about, 18, what's that rap song? 18 years, you got your ass for 18 years. It's not about that. It's life. It's a life sentence. It is not 18-year sentence. Okay. So to what degree is protection implicitly implied? If a man does everything in his power to avoid pregnancy, barring abstinence or a vasectomy, can prove his intent and the woman still becomes pregnant, i.e. scooping it out of the fucking, scooping the jizz out of the fucking condom and impregnating herself, can prove his intent and the woman still becomes pregnant, even by fraud, the man is still liable for the pregnancy. Women are 100% protected and men are 0% protected. I can even go as far as to quote you cases where a man marrying a single mother later divorces her and is still expected to pay for future child support for a child he did not father, even without official adoption of the child by the man, meaning that was from a previous marriage. A lot of guys would like to make a moral issue out of this, but it's not a question of right or wrong. It's dealing with the fact of what is in the environment we find ourselves in today. The fact of the matter is that unless men use prior discretion and take responsibility for the birth control, not allowing women to be the solely responsible for it, he is 100% powerless. This means bring your own condoms and flush them yourself. And yes, especially in a long-term relationship or a marriage. That means standing firm even when she says, take that thing off. I'm on the pill and I want to feel you. Mothers want to be mothers. Otherwise, they'd decide not to be. Single mommies are far too common an occurrence to be to bet the odds with the rest of your life. Wow. Sounds pretty responsible on the part of that red pill guy. Oh, sounds like one of those iron rules of Tomasi. Let's dig into it. Nobody reads this shit, man. The sexual revolution had far more to do with the development of hormonal means of birth control than the legalization of abortion. Condoms have been around since before World War II, but even in the baby boom, there were far less unwanted pregnancies or single motherhood than after the advent of the pill. The pill put control of the birth into the hand, unilaterally put the control into the birth into the hands of women, where before it was a man's responsibility to put the rubber on and to do so correctly if they both wanted to avoid a smaller version of themselves running around the house. The choice of professionals. Abortion rates skyrocketed in the decades after progesterone-based birth control was developed, thus promoting a need for legal and clinical regulations of abortions, as well as reforming paternity laws in the 70s. There had certainly been abortions, but both the medical and the back alley variety prior to this. But if you look at the increase in abortion statistics before and after the advent of convenient forms of birth control moderated by women taking it, it'll blow your mind. And now, even with the vast variety of birth control methods available to women today and 30 plus years of safe medical abortions, we still see an increase in single mother families and abortion rates. Why was that? I also have to point out that I believe the last numbers I have just off the top of my head is in the United States, the percentage of out of wedlock births is 42%. So 42% of all births in the US are out of wedlock right now. And that's aggregate. If you go and you break it down by ethnicity, it gets higher depending on, especially in the Black community, which is somewhere around 70. So, but when you take them all aggregate, it comes down to 42%. Bear that in mind. That's interesting considering that we have given women unilaterally the control of birth control. They have to take the fucking pill. Okay. And apparently that wasn't high on Daisy's priority list for some reason, just some unexpected reason. We don't know why, right? Not yet. One would think that these statistics would be lower in light of all this modernization and the leaps women have made culturally since the sexual revolution, but sadly, no. In fact, the single mother birth rate has climbed, adjusted for population, since leveling off in the 1980s, and abortion is just as popular as ever when new methods such as the morning after pill and RU-286 are readily available, and conveniently the social ills as a result are placed squarely on deadbeat dads rather than women choosing to have children. That's why I put accidental births in parentheses, because there are no accidental pregnancies. If a woman wants to have a child, she will have the child. If she does not want to have the child, she will not have the child. And we need to stop putting it in the retrospective. So whenever I say, well, abortion this, abortion that, if I talk about abortion whatsoever in a red pill sense, or even just in a clinical sense, the first thing out of anyone's mouth, whether they are wokesy progressive liberals or they are tradcon, dyed in the wool, born again Christian tradcons, will say the same fucking thing. You should have kept it in your pants. Well, that is irrelevant. It is immaterial once the pregnancy has already taken place, because only women have control as to whether or not that child gets born or it doesn't get born. That's why I've said, and I will reiterate it here one more time for you, is abortion is the final ultimate expression of hypergamy. Nothing says he ain't the one like having the unilateral power to end his genetic legacy in utero. Nothing controls the human reproductive process more than modern westernized females today. They are the ones who have virtually unilateral control over it. So when we listen to we're about to listen to this. When we listen to Fresh talking, trying to make his pitch and his appeal to say, hey, let's get an abortion. From a moralistic standpoint, from my personal opinion, abortion is wrong. I will tell you that right now. Nobody ever asks me that. They never say, Rollo, what do you think of? Do you think that abortion is wrong or right? I will tell you right now, abortion is wrong. Okay. That's me. Okay. From a clinical, empirical standpoint, I will ask people this. When people want it, usually when we're talking about abortion and I'm talking to somebody who's sort of like a wokesy liberal, right? The first thing I always want to say is this: why does abortion exist? What function, what latent purpose does abortion serve? It serves to give women a fail-safe against bad reproductive choices. That's what it's meant to do. And when you put it in those terms, liberals lose their fucking minds. Because it's always about, well, she's not ready for it. What about she's an underserved, she's in a bad ethnic class. She doesn't make enough money. He should have kept it in his pants. There's just this litany of these external reasons. But the real reason is it is a fail-safe for bad reproductive choices. End of story. When I'm talking to conservatives, if I ever got into this, I was really hoping I'd be able to bring this up at some point with like Lila Rose or somebody else. But whenever we have these conversations about abortion with tradcons, the first thing I say is, well, me personally, I think abortion is wrong. But what I will say this is that, do you believe that abortion is murder? Because that is exactly it's always this catchphrase. It's always this, abortion is murder. Okay. If you honestly believe that abortion is murder, then are you prepared to convict and sentence, in some cases to death, depending on the state, women who have abortions? Because if you're going to say that it is murder, then you're going to have to also, what is the penalty for murder? What is the penalty for premeditated murder? Because that's what it is. It's premeditated. And then, of course, what they'll do is they'll say, well, it's the abortion doctors. They should be sentenced too. They're the triggermen, right? They're like, he's the hired assassin. But if you're going to hire somebody to kill somebody else, you are on the hook for the same premeditated murder as the guy who's pulling the trigger. So if you're going to hire somebody to kill your husband, you're just as guilty for that murder as the guy who actually pulled the trigger. So, end of story. Same thing applies. If you think abortion is murder, should women be sentenced for murder one if they have abortions? And of course, they hem and holler and they twist in the wind whenever you say something like that. Those are the empirical arguments. Those are the empirical things that a lot of people ideologically don't want to wrap their heads around. But if you're going to ask me whether I think abortion is right or it's wrong, I'm going to say abortion is wrong and you should have the child and you should take responsibility for your actions. That's Rollo Tomasi talking. That's not the red pill this, the red pill that. The red pill is, what's the function of it? What's the function? That's a great illustration of the red pill. What's the function of abortion? And if you think that the function is murder, then should we then not hold women accountable for murder one? That's red pill. Rollo Tomasi is saying, I think that's wrong. So there you go. Let's continue. Okay, and right on cue. This isn't a scientific problem. It's a cultural one. Mothers want to be mothers. Men are only fathers when a woman decides this for him, even in the happiest of marriages. I hope, we'll see a second sexual revolution once a male form of hormonal contraception is tested and available. And please let me just stop you right there. Rollo doesn't know about the new male pill. I know. Trust me. I know. This is 2011. Please back the fuck up. We're going to keep going here. All right. But you can bet dicks to donuts that every interested party from the religious to the feminists will fight this method's release to the public at large and come up with every sort of veiled explanation for its demonization in order to put the agency of birth control exclusively into men's control. This is why I think that we have not developed or had the sort of the will to develop a male form of contraception, like a male pill, because we make too much money. We've standardized for too long on a gynocentric social order that has depended on one thing, that women can have sex and not, figuratively, virtually, not have to worry about pregnancy until they want to, until they want to have the child, until they want to have a child out of wedlock or in wedlock with a, PJ Washington, for example, and Brittany Renner. Brittany Renner, who, by the way, wrote a book about doing exactly that. And apparently, we've got Daisy Chen pulling a Brittany Renner on our boy Fresh right now. And yes, she's lying. And yes, Fresh was trying to push her out of the scene at the same time. There's a lot more that's going on. Again, I don't want to get too deep in the weeds with what was going on behind the scenes because it's going to come out anyway. So me saying it now is not going to make that much difference. But just understand that there was a lot more to this story that even this guy is really describing here. Okay, so last but not least, I sincerely doubt men will forget to take the pill or have their accidents in the numbers that women do. Imagine this. Imagine there's no birth control pill for women, but there's only a birth control pill for men. Imagine what the social implications of that would be. Like, men are like, you know what? I don't want to have any kids. I'm just going to keep taking this pill and banging chicks out as much as I want. And women would have to go to men and say, please put a baby in me. Imagine the society where a guy controls which women breed and which women don't breed. Imagine that fucking society. All right. Anyways, there's more to Iron Rule of Tomasi number 5, but I'll let you guys go and read. Now that I've piqued your interest, please go and check that out. Now, before we move on a little bit, I need to address something here when it comes to the iron rules of Tomasi, because certain individuals seem to think that these are prescriptions. They are not fucking prescriptions. They are not prescriptions any more than the 48 laws of power are prescriptions. And I have to point this out because I know a lot of people want to say, well, Rollo's telling you what to do. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm telling you that these are laws in the same way that the laws of power are laws. These are rules in the same way, I should say. It's not a list of do all of these 9 rules and you'll live a better life. That's not what they are. They are rules that outline dynamics the same way as the 48 laws of power outline dynamics of power. So I want to point one thing out here just to give you a little bit of backstory here. In 1998, when the 48 laws of power was published by Robert Greene, fantastic author, he was better in his early days. When the book was first published and it just became a hit, it was a #1 bestseller. That's when being a bestseller actually meant something. They banned the book from being in the libraries of like of prisons. So if you were a prisoner, like you're in jail, you couldn't read the 48 Laws of Power. They banned it. Why did they do that? Because people thought it was a list of prescriptions, because they thought this is going to teach these psychotic, Machiavellian sociopaths how to better manipulate power. And we can't have that. Well, as Robert Greene said, and of course now anybody can read it, but at the time, everybody thought it was an evil book because they thought it was a fucking recipe book. They thought it was a fucking prescriptions of here's how you become a powerful, tyrannical, demagogue leader, right? That's what they thought people were going to use it for, but it's not. It is outlining dynamics of power in terms of laws, and it has to be because there's individual iterations of that of power, right? So the 48 Laws of Power, there's some definite laws of power that are unethical. I'll tell you that right now. I forget which one it was. I think it might have been 9 or 10, where it's always get other people to do all the work, but take all of the credit for that work. It's basically plagiarism. Get people to do all the work for you and then take all the credit for that work. Okay, that's pretty unethical, and you could even make a case that it's immoral too, right? Okay, fine. Does that mean you're going to use that? Does that mean that that's a suggestion? Does that mean that Robert Greene is saying you better go and be a plagiarist? No, it doesn't. It is outlining, defining a law of power as a fucking law. That's the same thing as the same impetus. That's the same inspiration I had when I was writing the 9 Iron Rules of Tomasi. And by the way, the only place you will find the 9 Iron Rules of Tomasi collected together is in my first book, The Rational Male, available on Amazon. I deliberately kept those separate posts on The Rational Male. And even before that, when I was writing having the conversations about those 9 Iron Rules on the SoSwab forums, I deliberately kept those forum topics separate from each other. I never collected them in one place because I knew that this is exactly the way people would take it. They would think, oh, it's like the 12 rules for life. No, it's not. They are power dynamics. They are red pill dynamics. Whether you follow them or not, I don't give 2 fucks whether you do or not. But you know who gives a fuck about Iron Rule number 5 right now? Walter. Fresh Prince CEO definitely is learning the lesson here. I didn't say you have to do this to be red pill. I just said this is a principle that you might want to consider. How you apply that is all up to you. So don't give me this horse shit about, oh, it's a prescription. Fuck you. You're just too stupid to see that it's not a prescription. End of story. All I'm gonna say. Where we go? Here we go. Let's finish up with this guy real quick here.
But that's not the worst part, because get this. She says, I was ready to have a baby with him and build a family. He asked me many times, well, what if you get pregnant? My answer towards him was always, yes, I want to keep the baby. I don't mind have a baby with you. So she was gone for 2 months. And then she came back, and after a couple days of being back, she's talking baby, 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 baby. Sending him cute pictures of what Black and Asian kids look like. She was doing this long before she ever confirmed that she was pregnant or had legitimate reason to believe that she was pregnant. She just started out with this right after she got back from China. But it gets worse. It says after a few days, he asked me to move out. He likely had her living in one of his houses. He owns, quite a few properties. So he had her living in one of the properties that he didn't have a tenant in. So after a few days, he asked her to move out. Again, this was before he found out that she was pregnant. It says he stopped coming home. He disappeared for 3 nights without explanation. I called him. He never answered when I did nothing wrong. So I moved out and booked the first flight to New York. And on March 30th, I had a pregnancy test. Now that shaky timeline comes into play. When she said she went to Barbados to meet his family, and that's when it all felt so real and he was being so serious, and then she got off of the birth control, that would have been sometime between the 9th, 10th, and 11th, where she started feeling all the feel goods on the insides and got off of birth control. We know that because she said they made it back to Miami on the 12th, and Fresh was missing from the Fresh and Fit podcast during the 9th, 10th, and 11th, Myron was doing it by himself. Now, some would argue that Myron has been doing it by himself since 2020, but that's a separate debate. We're not here for that. Nevertheless, they returned to Miami on the 12th. So let's get the math right. From the 12th to the 30th, we're talking 7, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 days of you being fully back in his presence and off birth control, and you now know that you're pregnant. And even if we go by the results from the actual pregnancy test with the doctor that she got on April 1st, of which it takes 3 to 4 weeks to actually confirm that you're pregnant from one of those type of tests. If we start for counting from the 12th, we are legitimately counting 7, 14, 20 days. So even on the low end of the 3 to 4 weeks that you would have to be pregnant to confirm pregnancy, it's still coming up a day short on that. Birth control, when you get off of that, your hormones don't just snap back into place. No, it takes 2 to 6 months for somebody to be able to eventually get pregnant again once they get off of birth control. So in order for this timeline to have to add up exactly right, she would have had to be on one of the do-it-yourself, put it in and pull it out yourself diaphragms. She would have.
All right, let me hold off real quick because I have a personal story. When I got my wife pregnant, I did so by design, contrary to popular belief, where everyone says, "Oh, Rolo got trapped into because his wife got pregnant." No, dumbass. I've been married for almost 2 years, just about 2 years at that point. And I've been married to my wife for 27 and a half. My daughter's 25. So about a year and a half, right? Yeah, a little more. It took me 4 months to knock my wife up once she went off of birth control. Okay. We deliberately wanted to have a baby. We tried, and boy, it was a lot of fun. I will explain one of the best times of my life. Okay. Hey, I'm ovulating. Let's go. Okay. Yeah, I'm coming home from work. 4 months. From the time she went off to the time she's called me up and said, "You're going to be a dad." 4 months. So he's right. There's something that just doesn't line up for me right here. And I'll tell you, man, this seems kind of shady.
Had to pull it out on the 11th or the 12th. She would have had to been ovulating then. He would have had to been Steph Curry with the shot at that moment, just for them to fall, just not even making the 3 to 4 weeks timeline for her to be pregnant. That coupled with the fact that she was gone for 2 whole months and then came back talking about baby, I want to have your baby. It sounded like she came back pregnant. It sounded like she got pregnant when she was in China, but Fresh was gassing her up, telling her that he loved her and wanted to meet the family and he's rich.
And that baby don't come out black. That baby comes out like China, like Mandarin Chinese and shit. Oh, wouldn't that be that's some Maury Povich shit right there. The baby doesn't come out black. Instead of the other way around, the baby's white. Chinese.
And so she figured, hey, he's probably make a better dad than the person that actually got her pregnant. But I digress. Here's the audio.
All right.
I want the baby because I don't want to kill the baby. I don't want to kill nobody. I don't want to.
You're not. They just give you a pill and then it's over.
No. I'm pregnant.
No, but that's what I'm saying. The pill, they just give it to you from a doctor and then you're good.
I am pregnant. I can't pretending like nothing happened. I can't. In my religion, we don't kill.
All right. This is the part where a lot of people are saying this sounds very, very scripted on her part. Because if you listen to her in other videos, she's not like really stuttery like this. And there's some other shit that goes down.
You're not killing. Okay.
I want to keep the baby.
Okay. Well, like I said, I just don't want any kids. You know?
Okay, so what you gonna do?
Yeah. What you gonna do? What are you gonna do with me? Pay attention to this part right here.
And what you gonna do to me?
Nothing. Why did I do anything to you?
Nothing.
Why did I do anything to you?
No, I know. So like, how are you gonna?
So that's Fresh avoiding a trap right there, just to clarify things.
Deal with this by saying I don't want a baby. That's all.
I mean, let's go to the doctor, I guess.
To the doctor. So you want abortion?
I mean, yeah. Why do you want a kid now?
And why do you make me pregnant now?
Because I'm like, there's no way that's true. But then I said, oh wow, like.
So just think about it. It's meant to be. God
Sorry?
wants you to have the baby.
Definitely not.
It is. God wants you to have a baby. 7 years later.
I need a sound drop of that. Definitely not.
Never happened. And then you're fucking me for a month and I'm pregnant. What does that mean?
Well,
now I just think about it, if you force me to kill the baby, then you're a sin.
Well, we already sinned by having sex, but it's too late now, you know. But honestly, if that was the case, then my ex-wife would have the baby. You know, I'm just saying. Look, I get it, but we're not together. You want to get a baby? I don't want a baby.
Anyways, that's it. That's the gist of it. I also want to throw a few things out here real quick too, because I did find some stuff on. Oops, I can't do that. Wait a minute. I'd rather than get too deep in the weeds here. There's talk that she was an escort as well. So I just want to throw that one. I don't know if anybody's really mentioned that outside of like say Reddit, but it's going around. It's making the circles right now that she was an escort. Excuse me, her being, what was it, Miss Asia or some shit like that. It's not even really Miss Asia. I forget what the name of this thing is. Where'd it go? Oh, cool. All right, here we go. Let me throw a few things out here that maybe people aren't really realizing here. Now, this is me being loyal to my good friend Fresh, so just bear with me here. She had an escort page. Even if it was fake, it had escort like pictures that weren't on her IG. Her IG is now down. It's been deactivated, just so you know. I mean, she's a good looking girl. Don't get me wrong. She's exactly the kind of chick that I would expect Fresh to go after, by the way. And I know his type too. She travels around the world in international business class, especially Dubai, and complained about domestic business class. She herself said her family is comfortable, not wealthy. Comfortable cannot afford international business class all over the world. Her so-called Miss China title was a fake trashy one in Lebanon, and her actual name isn't recorded anywhere online except the pregnancy test, Ms. Jing Chen. So I guess she's not Daisy. That's why I was wondering if it was Daisy or Jing. These fake pageants are often held just so escorts can use them as sex workers, I should say, can use them as a photo op to up their rates. You can tell it's fake because actual Miss Chinas use their names, and a simple search can find them. You think that you really think Miss China will be 90% plastic and fake tits and a BBL and orange tan and reconstructed face? She does not fit the Chinese beauty standards at all. She already admitted Fresh gave her a minimum of $15,000 for half of a Van Cleef bracelet. What the fuck is a Van Cleef bracelet? I don't even know. Maybe I'm an idiot for not knowing that, but like, what is a Van Cleef bracelet? She previously lied about it. What else could she be lying about? She is dating / fucking Fresh from Fresh and Fit, for God's sake. You think a rich international Chinese woman whose parents have the funds for her to jet set in international business class would go for Fresh? Old money dates old money. New money dates new money. Fresh is new money via podcasting. Daisy is new money via international sugar babying. Her grammar and English, even for someone where that's the second language, is utter dog shit. She sounds extremely unintelligent. You know where wealthy Chinese send their kids for high school and college? International schools and top U.S. universities. Speaking as someone who went to a top university with plenty of international Chinese students, their English is extremely good, and they don't talk like a ratchet Kardashian wannabe. And then lastly, immediately she talks lawyers and money when discussing potential pregnancy and blasts it on IG. You don't think a girl that comes from a wealthy family would immediately want to destroy her uterus if she were caught with Fresh's baby, or her parents wouldn't force her to? You think it actually brings shame? Do you think it wouldn't actually bring shame to her family unironically? Again, your own conclusions, but don't just immediately think she's a saint just because you don't like Fresh, and immediately come to her defense because she's an Asian woman with your Cheeto and crescent white knight fingers are shaking at the chance to defend her. Actually, look at the evidence and come to the most likely scenario. She's an international sugar baby, aka professional Dubai porta potty, and knew damn well what she was doing with Fresh, or at least had his outcome as a potential outcome. Fresh is a complete hypocritical idiot for what he's been doing here. But again, that's kind of beside the point. Fresh needs to, at this point, I think a lot of this stuff is going to end up coming out. I'm picking this up from a Reddit thread right now, just so you guys get an idea where it's coming from. I think that's probably good enough. Either way, so let me end today's show by saying that Fresh fucked up, and I think that part of loyalty to your friends is letting them know they fucked up. And I'm pretty sure Myron let him know he fucked up. And if you guys want to say Myron was emotional, yes, he was. Just because I call this show The Rational Male, this podcast The Rational Male, doesn't mean I'm fucking Mr. Spock, okay? As a matter of fact, if you have actually read my books, I talk about being emotional and how it's part of the human experience. It's quite all right to get righteously fucking angry at shit if you're fucking in the right and somebody else is in the wrong, especially if they need to have it emphasized to them. There's nothing wrong with an emotional response. There's nothing wrong. There is if you dwell on it, if you live your life by it, if you make your decisions based on it, sure, absolutely. But there's no way I would ever tell anybody to not be, you doesn't sound very rational to me. Yeah. Because I'm a human fucking being, and I'm not trying to say that that I'm not. Everybody's going to be emotional at some point because that's part of our human experience, okay? I keep telling you guys, instinct, emotion, and reason, and those are the three modalities or the processes that human beings use to interpret their environment and their surroundings. Instinct, emotion, and reason. Just because I say the best way to live your life and make decisions is rational doesn't mean you don't feel shit. Do you guys think, like, I just told the story about my mother dying in a fucking assisted living facility, and I'm talking to her, I'm playing guitar to her from outside the fucking screen of the window that she's at. Do you think I was just sitting there like Mr. fucking Spock the whole fucking time? No, I wasn't. Of course not. When I got the news that she had passed away, I was pissed. I was raging fucking pissed. I was emotional and crying my fucking eyes out when we put her in the ground too, okay? I'm not fucking Mr. Spock. I'm not emotionalist, and neither are you. And to fucking expect that just means you're a stupid binary fuckwit. That's what that means. So yeah, Myron got pissed off. I would have been pissed off too. I've been pissed off at a lot of things. And people think, oh, Rollo's just flying off the handle. He's lost it. He's fallen off. No, I haven't. I'm being fucking human, just like anybody else is fucking being human. So the difference is I don't make my fucking decisions based on fucking my emotionality. I may try to do my best to make the best rational empirical decisions I can based on the best information that I can. Great. That doesn't mean that I'm not going to be an artist. I play music, for fuck's sake. You think I'm just like, okay, I'm just going to play all these things in numbers and beats? No, it's not like that. Not at all. I think what people don't really understand is like, yes, I have a degree in behavioral psychology. And my other degree is a bachelor's of fine arts. So fucking take that for what it's worth, man. So yeah, did he get pissed off? Yes, he did. And he fucking rightfully so. Did he break his cup? I feel bad. I want to go buy him another one now. Yeah, he did. He was pissed off. That's what you do. I've put my fucking hand through a fucking through drywall before. I can remember being so fucking pissed off at my ex-girlfriend, my BPD ex-girlfriend, that I pounded my fucking fist through the bathroom wall, right? And I'm not that guy. It was like an out of body fucking experience, man. It's not because I was trying to be like, you know, a tough guy or anything like that. I just did it without fucking thinking. And you know what? Fucking Myron probably did the same thing. I don't blame him one fucking bit. He's frustrated. I get it. I was fucking frustrated in 2019 too. That's why I said what I said in 2021, in March of 2021, because I knew it was coming. And here we are. Let me get to the last of these right quick. Let's see. Thank you very much for that. It's just some guy. I really appreciate those. They keep the show running. Oh, I got some news on Ned here at the end too, by the way. And it's finally and now for some good news. For real, red pilling others is dirty work. Yes, it is dirty. Unplugging chumps from the Matrix is dirty work. Man, that clip was cringe. Yeah, well, thanks. I hate that term. Do you hate that term? I hate cringe, man. Like,
cringe has
stop
gotten
fucking using cringe. Zoomers, please. Like, it's overused. Can we find another word?
It was all through that
corny.
It was all through that SW.
I remember when people started saying, "Oh, that Rolo guy is corny." Corny? I don't even think I used that in the 70s, man. Rolo, do you think it's dangerous for the manosphere to allow feminists like Pixie and Farah Khalidi to infiltrate the space? They're not infiltrating the space. They're only infiltrating the space because people are giving them a fucking time of day. That's why. It's diluting the message and platforming them to push feminism. Okay. Farah worked for Gloria Steinem. Farah did not work for Gloria Steinem. Operatives, honeypots. Okay. Well, are they like, okay, I would be more concerned. Here's what I would be concerned with anyone who is connected with Destiny is intimately tied to Progressive Victory or something like that. He's tied to a DNC super PAC or PAC money of some sorts. What the hell was it? Progress Victory, something like that. They canvass. Farrah's there, Jasmine Jafar is there, Pixie's there, fucking Not So Erudite's there. All the usual suspects, they're all part of that same pack. So yeah, you might be right about that. You might be right about the political side of it, anyways. And if they're there, they're just there so they can goof on the red pill. And you know why they're able to goof on guys in the red, or well, mostly women on the red pill, or a guy like Brian, or a guy like, I'll tell you who they're not going up against and who they're not like actually making any kind of getting any traction with is Myron. And they wouldn't make any traction with me. They wouldn't make any traction. That's why they avoid us. They don't want to, like, I was supposed to have Jasmine Jafar and fucking Farah on there until Farah started mouthing off. And I showed the fucking, what was it? I showed the receipts of her basically coming on to fucking Justin Waller, literally within 24 hours of the show that we did on whatever podcast. Like all these people behind the scenes, they're full of shit. All of them are full of shit. They'll fuck Justin Waller as quick as they like throw hate at him on the show. So like, you got to remember that these people, they put this fucking front on, they put this fucking character on when they go on whatever, or they go on Fresh and Fit, or they go on wherever else. I'm not going to let them put that fucking character on. That's why they don't want to deal with me. Same thing with these TradCon women, right? It's not just the Farahs and the Jasmine Jafars. It's not just the Pixies. It's also fucking, I don't know, the Elizabeth, what's her fucking name? I can't remember. Cake girl who's going to go to fucking federal prison. It's the TradCon side of things too, man. They're just working for a different ideology. They're working for a different political action committee. They're canvassing for Trump instead of canvassing for, I don't know, Biden or whoever the fuck it's going to be. They're doing the same fucking thing. And the reason why they don't, here's the thing. One thing I've noticed on Twitter right now is there's this tendency for it's engagement farming is what it is. And they'll just simply throw out something about like, oh, well, all those red pill guys are all about abortion. Look, here's Fresh. And they just throw out fucking Molotov cocktails, and they know that somebody's going to react to it and tell them that they're full of shit. And all I have to say to you is, until you're willing to come to Las Vegas and sit across the table from me and Mike, or me and whoever, the challenge, the gauntlet has been thrown down. anytime you want to back up and you want to defend your claims and you want to want to face the fucking music, I will book the time at. You can come here, or you can go to Sticky Paws, wherever. I'll book the time. You want that debate? You want to fucking defend your convictions? Fine, here it is. Come to Vegas and we'll do it. But you won't do that. You know why? Because you're full of shit. All of your religion is bullshit. All of your faith is bullshit. All of your conviction is bullshit. All of it is bullshit, unless you're willing to defend it. And you're not willing to do that. Michael Knowles, you're not willing to do that. Matt Walsh, you're not willing to do that. Clearly you aren't. It's been on the table forever. Been talking about this bullshit since fucking February. All you trad femmes on fucking Twitter, Lauren Chen, you want some? Come right here. Be happy to fucking run you to ground. No fucking problem. You won't do that. You know why? Because you're not about it. Because your conviction is as empty as your faith in God. That's why. You're full of shit. Until you come here and defend it, you're full of shit. And your bullshit faith is full of shit too. And I hate to say that because I like to think that I share that same faith, but until you're willing to defend it right here in a court of fucking public appeal, you're full of shit. All you're doing is engagement farming. That's all you do. And that's all you're worth. Too many guys say that say they are red pill are like Christians that haven't read the Bible. Yeah, thank you. Right on cue. Read the damn source material. Please do. I would have very much appreciated it. Let's see, where do we go? My whole point was even sensei that you trust will stab you and throw away a friendship over vagina. Right. It's all about the nookie. I did it all for the nookie, Kyle. Does hot sauce work like Drake? No. Stop right there. That is not, that did not happen with Drake. Did not. No. You want to know where that happened? That happened right after. I remember I read you the thing about the NBA in 2002 putting out the like saying make sure you flush the condoms. Like the NBA put out that thing. That credit where it's due. That was drawn from Tom Likas at the time, who was reading that exact story on his terrestrial radio show at that time. And Tom Likas is the one who said, put Tabasco sauce in your condoms. So that way, if she scoops it out and puts it in her cooter, then she's getting Tabasco or ghost pepper or scorpion pepper or whatever the fuck it is. And then you'll know that she's trying to fucking baby trap you. That was Tom Likas, not Drake. Which by the thing is sinister, but I understand. As usual, Rolo's cooking. Can't wait for Access Vegas show you're going to do with FNF this week. Thank you for blowing the secret there, Heavy Metal Hotep. That was my, I'll just make the announcement now here at the end of the show. Yes, Myron and Fresh will be in Las Vegas, I think on Wednesday, but we're doing the show on Thursday, the 11th. We already made the announcements on Access Vegas last week. But Myron and Fresh will be here. And that's why I wanted to, I didn't want to get too deep in the weeds in this show because I want Fresh to be able to answer his own question. And it's going to come up. There's no way, I was going to say that there's no way that Fresh is ever going to be able to do any show without somebody actually asking about the situation. He's going to have to get used to fielding that question. And I hope he'll maybe talk about it. But that will be on April 11th. That is this coming Thursday. It will be Access Vegas and Fresh and Fit. Once again, the Super Friends meetup. It's like the Marvel team up. The Marvel team ups of Fresh and Fit and Access Vegas will be taking place live on April 11th. If you want to be in the green room, that's fine. If you want questions, if you want to ask questions, now's the time to ask them. I'm going to do some promotion for this. I'm really going to do a good build for this one because finally I've got a week to prepare. So they will be in on Thursday, the 11th. I'm sure they'll answer these questions. I'm sure we'll be talking about that. And by the way, just so you know, four of the girls, well, okay, three, at least two of these girls, but three of these girls. We've got Danny Banks already on. She's been wanting to be on Fresh and Fit and our show for a long time. So we got porn star Danny Banks is going to be in on it. I think we're going to have Amanda Nicole. She wants to be in on it too. Go look her up on Instagram. She's been on the show once before. Amanda Nicole will be on there. I wanted to get Savannah Storm across the table from us, because I mean, you want to talk about like nothing but mammaries across the table, that's where we would go. And then if we could get Jesse Preston, we would have a wall of tits sitting across the table from Myron and Fresh if we could make that happen. But I think Jesse Preston was too scarred by the last one, but if Jesse wants to be on, that'd be fine too. But anyways, we're hand selecting, we're carefully curating a panel of girls for Myron and Fresh. And no, we're not inviting Jen, and no, we're not going to have Lana on there either. So maybe should we bring the twins back? I think we should bring the twins back for that one. Get the double time twins. Oh boy, wouldn't that be great? Yes. So we will have them on April 11th. You are correct. I was saving that for the right at the end, but okay, you blew it. Shit got deep in here. Y'all be good later. Thanks. Okay. Bye, Derek. Take it easy, my friend. Damn it, Rolo, you Gen Xer. When you going to unblock me? I don't know who PI is, so I would unblock you if I knew who you were. But I probably, actually, I don't do the blocking here. You mean here or on Twitter? I'm not really sure where you mean. If you got blocked here, well, you wouldn't be able to post if you were. If you get blocked on this channel, it's in all likelihood I didn't block you. It was either Kyle or it was Sam Bada, maybe Tori. Maybe Torsha has a mod ability too. Yes, it might have been a guy from PI again. Rolo, these trads have no skills, therefore have to engagement farm to make money. Yeah, of course. Well, the thing that gets me, would you like me to, okay. There is no sincere convictions. I'd rather be found as a Christian than be found as a Christian than be called one. You want to know why I get bent out of shape because of that? Is because I am a Christian myself. And when I see people using faith and quote unquote conviction for content, yeah, that to me, that's taking the Lord's name in vain. That is like breaking one of the fucking commandments. Okay. So to pretend to speak and then not be able to back it up. I put it this way. I am just as hostile towards trad femmes who don't back up their convictions, because what they're doing is actually, those women are worse than Pearl. Pearl can't back up anything. She can't defend a fucking point on about the red pill, but I can cut her some slack because she's not trying to say, oh, and it's also in the Bible. It's also what God says, right? That's what these chicks are doing. They're ignorant about the red pill and they're trying to tag it to their faith. Your faith is empty unless you're willing to back it up, unless you're willing to defend it. And you can take that to the bank. You can say, I said that. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. Culture Club USA became a YouTube member. Well, thank you, Culture Club. Like Boy George. No, I have seen Culture Club. I did go and look up your channel. I did go and look it up. Maybe I'll do something with you. No comment, no comment, no comment. Yes, thank you. James fucking Sexton. No comment, no comment, no comment. What did he say? He said, like, if you say it, you're doomed or some shit like that. He had some really snappy, like, saying, but yeah, you're right. Why don't my clients ever just follow the advice they pay me to give them? Well, yeah, you're probably right. They don't. Jim, please come to Las Vegas. Please come. We have cookies. Come to the dark side. We have cookies here. we have titties here too. Actually, we have a lot of titties here. But no, we're still trying to get a date with. I need a date with Jim Sexton. Oh, always a bridesmaid, never a bride. Yeah, no comment, no comment. That's. I think that also needs to be said. Thanks for your super chat, Jim. It's like if Myron and Fresh aren't like being like 100% forthcoming and above board and everything, and they're not telling you everything like immediately, there's probably a fucking reason for this. They probably, they don't want to fucking go, I'm sure they don't want any disability in their fucking courtroom. So just fucking like let them handle this, and it's gonna come. How can it not come out? The bitch is hanging herself as it is. So it's MOPO. Okay, you blocked me on Twitter. I don't know why. You probably got wrapped up. You got caught up in my block dragnet at some point. Abortion is haram. Always has been, and is a life, in my opinion, is always be and is a life, in my opinion. Hope you are good. I am. So I wanted to point out, like, a lot of people will say, well, Rolo says this or Rolo says that. Like I just gave you my take on abortion. I think it's wrong. I agree with it. It's haram, right? 100% agree with that. But the thing is like, I also have an obligation to objective truth. So I also have to look at it from a mechanical, empirical perspective too. So if I'm going to say, well, you shouldn't, there's that word should. If I say you shouldn't or you should do something, that's my opinion. That's me. If Roll Tomasi might give you a prescription, but the red pill is not about prescriptions. It is about descriptions. So when Myron says you should fuck 50 women before you like settle down or you think about getting with one, he's not literally saying fuck 50 women, but your dumb, spurgy, literalist, autistic brain doesn't know any different, and it can't think in terms of metaphors or analogies or prose or fucking hyperbole. You don't think that way because all you know is this literalist bullshit, because all you do is fucking watch TikTok videos and post on fucking Reddit. Stop it. Things are a little bit more nuanced than that. Even Myron, I don't know how many times Myron has, like, I think Myron's like 50 lays is like my vasectomy tweet. It's like one of the things that everybody takes stupidly literalist, when in fact it was never intended to be that way. But really what he was saying, like, according to Myron, like, I'm still not ready to settle down because I only have 41 lays. My notch count's only 41. Oh, sorry, I failed you, Myron. I failed. I need to go up. But then the CDC says that getting a blowjob is the same as a lay. So I think I'm probably in the 60s range now. I think because that apparently a blowjob is like adds to your notch count. But ladies, here, you want to know how you can erase a notch from your notch count? You can do this. You have sex with a woman. Every time you have lesbian sex, it erases one notch. That's Mike Sartain. Mike Sartain says that, not Roland Tomasi. That's not a red pill thing. That's a Mike Sartain-ism. So anytime you have lesbian sex, ladies, you erase one notch. Yes, at least in Vegas you do. So there you go. Yes, Fresh fucked up. All right, Fresh did fuck up, but he's in a bad fucking situation, and this bitch is trying to roll him right now too. So before you go and pull an Andrew Huberman and you want to see your hero fail and fall, think about why you want to see him fail and fall. Were you really into him? Were you really into the Myron and Fresh? Were you really into the red pill? Are you just here for fucking red meat? I don't think any of my guys are, but I think that a lot of the people who are prompting Myron to have a hostile, angry, frustrated response, I think you guys are the ones who are pulling this Andrew Huberman shit on Fresh at this point, because you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. And I can understand, man. I 100% empathize. And I mean that in the most sincere, in the most clinical sense, empathize with Myron's frustration and his anger, because I've had to deal with it myself. When I'm dealing with the bullshit from forged medical documents from fucking Lauren Southern, when I'm dealing with Destiny colluding with her, when I'm dealing with fucking Brittany Venti and all her bullshit, yes, I'm very fucking frustrated. And I hate to have to re-explain that because somebody didn't take the time to really understand what was going on. And so all they do is see one stupid tweet and they go, aren't you the vasectomy guy? Fuck you. No, I've been around for fucking 22, 23 odd years right now. I got way more under my belt than that. And so when people say, oh, you're just a podcaster, why would I take your fucking... Do you realize how many books I have? Do you realize how long I've been doing this? Do you realize what my background is? No, you don't. That's where you want to know why Myron broke his fucking cup. That's why. Dealing with fucking idiots. That's why. And I can 100% relate, Myron, 100%. And hopefully we'll have this conversation on Thursday and this upcoming week. There, I said it. I'm not taking anything back. It's my story and I'm sticking to it. Guys, I have one last good news for you. I got to end the show on a high note because I have to go back. My dog, Ned, is in his cage right now, and I can't do this show without putting him in his pen. So I got to get out of here. But here's the good news. The good news is this. I don't know if you guys remember this. Remember he got in a fight with a Rottweiler. This was in October of last year. Fight with a Rottweiler. If it had been just the fight, he'd been just fine. But he broke his leg in the fight because the dog had about like 70 pounds on poor Ned, right? But Ned got his licks into. So he breaks his leg. The vet saves his life, puts a pin in, or puts the hardware in. Ned slips and bends that hardware. I thought he was going to die right then and there. Didn't. I had it pulled. We put in another pin. We put that in. That thing was in for probably about 6 weeks, maybe 8 weeks. They pull it out. They stitch him back up because he looks like he's healing. He re-breaks it again. But they can't put new hardware in because now he's all sealed up and they don't want to open him back up again. So they were talking about a bone marrow treatment and doing the centrifuge thing and doing all this other shit. We get down to Vegas and we take him to a specialist in Vegas, and they take him out of the hard cast and they just give him half of a hard cast and they say, have him put weight on it. We take him to the park. I walk him around. He still wants to play. He's very playful. He's like 100% the same old Ned. He just has to have a fucking cast on, right? Well, we took him to the vet just 2 days ago and we had him x-rayed again and it's healing. And we can see the fucking healing. It's actually we actually see some fucking progress. I'm like, oh my God, because I thought I was going to have to do another surgery, do bone marrow, do all this other shit. And it's already healing. So I'm like, fuck, thank God. So he's doing good, doing much better. Thank you guys for being concerned. It's still kind of weak, but it is showing signs of healing, and there's new bone growth that's going in there because Ned is just an absolute badass. That's just how he is. Thank you, Nuke, for that. Been roasting Tradwise for the past week. Yes. Guess who's hopping in my DMs? Lauren Chen. I hope it's Lauren Chen. Yeah. Lauren Chen. I went into Lauren Chen's house on Tenet Media and fucking ate her lunch. That's why I did. I went on the culture war with Tim Pool, and that's Tenet Media. Yeah. Anyways, all right, guys. Yeah, Ned's a badass. Thank you very much. So that's the good news. I'm going to leave you guys on that. I will see you guys the next time I will see you guys will be on Access Vegas. It'll be on April 11th. It'll be at Sticky Paws. We're going to have Myron and Fresh. We're going to have porn stars. We're going to have cats and dogs living together. It'll be chaos. It'll be mayhem. It's in Las Vegas. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. We're going to set things on fire. We're going to have red flaming tits and Myron and Fresh in on the 11th. So watch for that. And with that, I am going to say goodbye as soon as I find. There it is. All right, guys. Bye.
Of me, it was my first time, but I was just a kid when we met and went to bed. It was my first time. What do you expect from me? I'm breaking up the rules now in the game. I've got some new tools. Please do the same. Time came by when open like a matchbox stereo. Time to keep my thoughts now. To keep me up all night. But maybe we can fuck again, and maybe things are different. Goddamn, baby, one more again. Won't you put it on me one more again? I need to know if maybe we can fuck again, then maybe things are different. Goddamn, baby, one more again. You can have the best in my life. Now we're fucking in the bathroom, tearing up every wall while I got your hair. Why you screaming my name? She was swinging in the bedroom, whole time stopping and stopping with her head like she's calling you Kelly. So baby, come ride me up and down like a pony, turning up my song, getting nasty, working up and down on your body. Ride me up and down like a pony, turning up my song on your body. Baby, we'll get down to it all night, but maybe we can fuck again, and maybe things are different. Damn, baby, one more again, won't you put it on me one more again? I need to know, and maybe we can fuck again, then maybe things are different. Damn, baby, one more again, and I can
Preceding podcast has been a production of the Rational Male. All rights reserved. Registered trademark 2024. Don't ill my stuff.